Last round, our competitors took the fastest open-wheel cars in the world around the longest track on the F1 calendar. Today, we'll keep the horsepower, ditch the downforce, and shorten the lap length considerably. Short track racing is a staple here in the States, and it will no doubt be just as much of a test of everyone's prowess. Who can tame the monstrous Silver Crowns? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the Majors Rich Vogler Classic, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Adam Lindgren and Devin Henry. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Lucas Oil Raceway is the second track we've visited in Indianapolis, but this one is not nearly as famous as the Big Oval. Let's head down to our track guide in case some of our audience hasn't heard of this more intimate venue.
Lucas Oil Raceway, formerly known as Indianapolis Raceway Park, sits about a 7-mile drive up Crawfordsville Road from the legendary Brickyard. The list of names that have run here since the oval track opened in 1961 is about as long and distinguished as the names that adorn the Borg Warner Trophy. Lucas Oil Raceway was a stepping stone, a building block, to get a chance to taste that milk in Victory Lane at IMS. But don't let that fool you. The racing here can be just as intense. The 12 degrees of banking, the shape of the turns, mean that this 0.69 mile short track is one of those that the High Line became famous at. The long way around is the fast way at Lucas Oil Raceway. As what happened to the big house down the street, stock cars became more prevalent in the 1990s. NASCAR Grand National and trucks made regular stops here the weekend of the 400 well into the 2000s. But stock cars have waned in recent years, with now only ARCA being the main stock car show at the Speedway. Now, into the 2020s, we at GSRC echo the legendary Dave Despain on ESPN that turned the spotlight on Midwest open wheel racing, and we get ready to call this race at Lucas Oil Raceway.
Well, it might not have the worldwide fame that IMS has, but Devin, for anybody who follows short track racing here in the States, this is definitely familiar territory.
Absolutely. I've never seen this combination before on iRacing, but this is actually a virtual version of the Dave Steele Carb Night Classic, or as better known usually, the night before the 500. This race originally started back in 1946 at the West 16th Street Speedway, with some much slower cars than what we have now, but this eventually went through Kokomo Speedway, the Indianapolis Speedrome, the Indiana State Fairgrounds, but it's typically been home here at Lucas Oil Raceway at Indianapolis in the Silver Crown cars. Now, this track is actually a lot of fun. It's one of those short tracks where the High Line is the line to be. At 0.69 miles, about a 7/10 track, it's just over 2/3 of a mile, 12-degree bankings in the corners, and while the top line is where you want to be, the lower or middle line, more rather, is not only a passing opportunity, but then in these kinds of Silver Crown cars that are not really like your traditional USAC Silver Crown Champ car, you can actually use the inside to not just make moves, but also to pass that you wouldn't normally see at a regular Carb Night Classic race at Lucas Oil Raceway with these Silver Crown cars.
It'll be fascinating to watch because, again, if you're not familiar with the majors, they race all different types of cars. So not every one of these drivers are experts, and some might have a little bit of an edge over the others. Qualifying is just getting started, but before we go to that, let's talk about the championship situation, of course. And Christian Challenger has been dominating this year. Now, he didn't win last round in Belgium, but is still doing decently ahead of Travis Warling, who still has a long ways to go. He might actually be looking a little bit more behind Steve Driscoll within 100 points, which sounds like a lot, but considering it's 500 points for a win, at least in normal circumstances, we'll go over that in a second, he could still climb his way past him. Wade Hayes and Liam Quinn rounding out the top 5, of course. Now, Adam, you've got the update on the team's championship.
Yeah, and as Joe said, 500 points for a win means that this first and second battle is very tight between Kinetic and Unorthodox. Just over a win, 576 points separate those two teams at the top of the pack. Dog Bear Red is about 4-ish wins back, so they're not really in contention for the top spots, but Dog Bear White is close enough to make it interesting for third position. With Sector 5 Racing very close, looking to probably swap with the Dog Bear White racers if they have a chance. But you know, as we talk about the points later, Joe, this is going to be very interesting tonight to see how the team's championship sorts out after all this.
Now, for the drivers who might be getting along a little bit farther, Devin, we've got the Legends Championship. What's that sitting like currently?
Yeah, right now, Bryan Barns with the lead over Kevin Hill by about 256 points. And while I'm sure everyone's looking at these and going, wow, those are a lot of points, well, it's 500 points to win. So Brian Bennett, Rob Gal, Brian McGreevy, they're really not all that far behind. I mean, it's just like any other series, guys. One bad night for, say, a Brian Barnes, a Kevin Hill, that can completely change the landscape of things moving forward.
Of course, the drivers at least know what's coming in terms of what's happening with this race, even though they might be a little bit new to the car. But Adam, you might have viewers who haven't been keeping up to speed on the schedule. So what are they up against here today?
Absolutely. They have a doubleheader tonight. This is round 11 of 14 with the USAC Silver Crown cars here at Lucas Oil. They have that doubleheader, so that's two 100-lap races, and they're going to split the points evenly between the two races. So 250 points for one, another 250 for the other. That's why the points situation is going to get very interesting tonight, and especially with those Legends guys only about 250 points apart for the lead. That could be the difference if you win a race here or not. Rolling start here for these guys and open setups as well with a 16 incident cap. That's actually not that much considering these cars have a real hard time stopping. One thing I forgot to mention though, at the top of this is going to be a 10-minute qualifying to set their placement in the first heat, so that could make things very interesting going into this first race.
They will reverse the top 10 of that first race for the grid of the second one. Everybody else will start where they finished in the first race, so that'll be interesting, especially if somebody wrecks out early who's a fast driver. They're going to have a lot of work to do come race 2 to make up for that. Now, if you're looking to take advantage of GSRC's over 1 million global monthly impressions, from official series sponsorships to commercial placements, we have advertising options customizable to suit your company's needs. Follow the link in the description below to learn more. Also want to mention the charity that they are raising money for with this race, as they do every round in the majors. The way they raise the funds here is that drivers who want to put more than one qualifying session in during the week to get into the top split have to pay for those next ones. Now, today's is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide. We have a link in the description below if you want to see how you can help out. And as I mentioned on Twitter a little bit earlier, this one definitely very personal to me, as this is something that has certainly affected my life quite closely in more than one way. Now, we have them in warm-up. I was a bit wrong earlier. The schedule goes on a little bit more before we get to the qualifying. We've got just about 6 more minutes before we hit that qualifying session. So I want to pick the brain of Devin here, because you are a short track aficionado, really, in this group. These drivers, since I mentioned a lot of them, come from a variety of disciplines, and not all of them are oval experts, let alone short track experts. So if you had to be on the wall, if you were the crew chief for one of these guys and you knew they were a little bit green, what would you tell them coming in to prepare them?
The first thing I would tell them is stay a little bit off the wall. That's typically the fast line here at Lucas Oil Raceway. Excuse me, I'm gonna want to say IRP all day long today, but that wall can suck you in so bad. It's almost like Darlington in about any track. If you don't take that arc into the corner enough, you're just gonna end up hitting the wall. And as these tires wear, that's not going to help at all. So you got to keep your driver calm. There are a lot of entries in this race tonight, and there are going to be times when drivers are going to get stuck in traffic. That's a great time to drive into the corner a little bit too much. And if there's some tracks like Bristol where you hit the wall in the middle of the corner and you can actually gain speed that way, yeah, that's not how it works here. You hit that wall in the corner in the middle of the corner, and you are going backwards fast. Just a little bit too much anticipation can cost you a lot of positions.
They can. As we wait for that qualifying to get started, we've got a little bit of a chance to fill you in on some of the other championships we don't always get to touch on So let's start with the Premier Championship, the Premier teams. This is essentially sort of an amateur teams championship. They started this because so many of those top teams have essentially feeder teams. They're sort of Toro Rosso or Alpha Tauri team, if you will. Right now, that's being led by Forge Gold with Unorthodox Horizon team trying to play catch up to them. Unorthodox, obviously, stacked from top to bottom as they are in competition to take the team's championship at the top as well. Kinetic, another one of those that really has an incredible depth to their talent, a little bit ways behind them. Ford Silver and Pneumatic Motorsports rounding out the top 5 for those. Speaking of AM championships, Adam, we have the Sportsman, as they call it. Again, another sort of amateur championship here in the Major Series.
Absolutely. The Sportsman Championship is very tight. It's much tighter than our Pro Championship right now. We have Mark Stevenson up ahead of Daniel Johnson. He's only 211 points back, with Robert Deloche only about 14 points behind him. So it's very tight between those top 3, and it's just a couple more points down to Zachary Brown, and Brian Halleck's still in it. I mean, all of those guys are very, very close and tight together, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how all of that plays out. And they actually, you can go check out their stream as well. They have a stream going on with the Sportsman Championship as well, so we'll make sure to point you in that direction in the chat.
There's a special championship as well. They've called it the Road to the Ring. Now they've got a special event at the end of the season where they're going to have a 24-hour race at the Nürburgring, which is a daunting task, but still some sort of reward for those of us who are masochists enough to enjoy that sort of thing. Kinetic Americas up at the top of it, with Unorthodox Motorsports trailing by just a win and some change right now. So that is incredibly tight in terms of the two teams. Grizzly TFR Pro, not too much farther back. In fact, even tighter between themselves and Unorthodox, and they are close to Kinetic Americas. Bombshell Motorsports just a hair behind them, and then same thing with Kinetic's international team, of course, sitting back in the 5th place. Just about 3 more minutes to go now here in the warm-up before we get to the qualifying. Now, if you are a fan of the majors and you want to get some cool swag from them, they actually have a store that can be found at pacificmajors.com/store. Pretty simple to remember there, and should be able to find some stuff if you want to see if you can help support the series. The other thing too that's interesting is that they have the Majors Garage now. So if you are a driver that wants to try and get on the level of some of these top drivers around the world here that compete in the majors, you can go check out their Discord and see what kind of setups and help and tips they have for you to see how you can learn to go a little bit faster in all variety of cars here on the iRacing service.
Yeah, Joe, the Majors Garage is a really cool opportunity for everyone. It's like you said, a free place to get setups, and some of the drivers that are at the top of the fields in these races seem to be saying that those baseline plus setups they're calling are actually quite good setups that you can use for racing around the service. So it's a great opportunity if you have been looking for a place to pick up some setups for some fairly well-known cars, to pick up a great set to go racing on your off time.
Absolutely. And you can see the sun is setting in the background, so this of course will be a pair of night races, so it's a little bit cool out here. Are these cars particularly tricky on cold tires, Devin? I know we've seen some cars previously here in this series, especially on the newer tire model. Drivers really need to be careful, and these things have so much power. I'm already a little bit worried about what these restarts and starts are going to be like.
And another thing to take a look at with these cars, these are somewhat like Suedo pavement sprint cars, if you will. So along with being on cold tires, luckily enough, it's starting to cool down a little bit, but they do also have front and rear stagger as well. And so, yeah, the cold tires can certainly play a factor, especially on restarts here, partially because of that extra stagger there kind of lifts up the right rear of these cars. And so that's another point where these cars, they're similar to driving some sort of short track car, but in essence, they're really a beast of their own, being open wheel, pavement, sprint car, go-karts on a short track, if you will.
At least one thing they don't have to focus on is shifting too much, because there's basically 2 gears on these things, one to get you out of the pits, and then that second gear is for running around the rest of the track. Qualifying, Adam, I mean, is this going to be an incredibly important qualifying? Devin did say that passing on the low line is possible, but in other series that we've covered here, the high line makes track position oh so important.
Yeah, so let me give you a spoiler for the other two regions here. The man who was on pole for both of the races went on to win it. So, yes, qualifying is going to be extremely important, as well as just keeping your nose clean tonight. There have been a lot of cautions throughout the other regions tonight, and so it's going to be very important to stay safe around here. It's very easy to get caught up in a wreck. It's very easy to ride the outside wall, and as soon as you touch that outside wall, the car wants to flip up and ride that wall like it's trying to do a wall, like a wall ride. And it's very dangerous and very scary, so you're going to see a lot of drivers bailing out before they get to the high end of that wall. So here comes qualifying. Let's see how these guys do.
We will need to get Andy Lally into one of these cars or something. I know, like me, he's a fellow racer who skates, so he'll be used to going a little bit vertical as we get the qualifying going. Now wait for some laps to be put onto the board. See Matthew Pilas, one of our first out there to get a timed lap going. They get 4 laps to set their quickest lap out here, and that will set the order as they come around. Just getting the car wound up around turns 3 and 4. This is Ryan Steele as well. As the first lap going to be Eric Smith. He goes the quickest of the first 3 to get one down. Andrew Waring, currently the slowest of them. Travis Warling, our winner last round, finds himself up in 4th temporarily.
Yeah, and another thing to note is that Christian Challoner led the practice sessions on time. Second place driver at that time was Matthew Pilas, who just went up to the top of the board with the fastest lap into the 19s. So I think that he just looks like he just ended up bailing out of his last couple laps. So he's going to come around for one more here, but keep your eyes on the top of the board. Matthew Pilas is very fast tonight.
Small correction for myself. That was Andrew Waring who won last race. I'm already gotten them confused. Still, looks like Pilas, who was quick on the first lap, is still holding that top spot, looking very, very quick today. Where is Christian Challoner, though? Has he started his laps yet? He has not. Interesting that he's waiting. Looks like he's still stationary.
There is a lot of time here, and it's one of those things when you have 4 laps. Maybe you want to wait a little bit, and I know some drivers sometimes forego that 3rd lap to go back and take a look at how they drove and try to get that 4th lap just a straight heater.
Matthew Pilas is one of those drivers who just did that. He did hop into the pits, come back out, and set the fastest time, so he is now on provisional pole, having jumped Eric Smith, who jumped him right before that happened. So Eric Smith coming around for one final lap. Let's see whether or not he can make it faster.
Also got Beltrami on the screen. His 4th lap does not go faster, so he'll sit in 4th. Still, that's a very high spot for the Salami. We're used to seeing him maybe about the mid-pack in most series, and this looks to be his bailiwick for sure. Strong driver on the short tracks that we are well familiar with is Justin Morton. He's up in 7th.
Yeah, probably not exactly the qualifying he was hoping for, but he's probably going to be trying to do a little bit quicker. Christian Challoner completes his first lap, only good enough for 6, but he got a little bit loose coming off of 4, so he's going to have to reset and go around, and he'll only have another, 2 laps to complete around here in order to set his qualifying time. Lynn Kinchlow, though, coming around. Bryan Barns as well coming around. A 20.157 for Bryan. That's going to be good enough for 13th position as Lynn finishes a lap, and that's unfortunately going to be at the back of the pack right now. So we'll see whether he can improve over time.
So Christian back out one more time to see if he can improve before the dying stages of this qualifying. Barnes goes even quicker on his 2nd lap, but it just edges him up into 12th. So row 6 for the number 4 car. This is Challoner on screen there for a moment. We got David Hall now, yet to set a time. His first lap, a 20.4. That'll slot him into 19th.
So here's Christian Challoner. He did spin out after his first flying lap last time around, so looks like he's struggling a little bit with the changing conditions out here. So let's see whether or not he's a little bit smoother off of 4. He is this time. So as he crosses the line, that's going to be wow, that's a 119.978. That puts himself up to second.
Clearly, he had something more under his belt, and he knew it. That's why he got back out there. We've got Swaby on screen. His first 3 laps have only been good enough for 19th. A lot of work to do for him. So what can the Kinetic driver do? Not quicker. A 19.981 is just 100th slower than his fastest lap. Swaby jumps himself up into 17th, still missing a number of cars yet to set times. Nick Kuhn is going to be another one of those, who's just started his first flying lap. Here we've got David Hall once again. His 4th and final lap, not faster than his 20.410, so he'll stay in 20th.
Yeah, so Nick Kuhn will be the next to start his flying. Well, actually, he's on his first flying lap right now. Looks a little bit tight through the center. One of the tips that I've received from another driver is that you do want to diamond these corners a little bit, which means you're going to be slower at the apex, and you're going to want to try and get some good turn into the car at the apex to get good speed off of it because of how much power these cars have and how tight that suspension is. It just wants to sling the back end around if you take too much of a turn angle on the power.
Kuhn goes quicker on his second lap, up to 10th. He's actually looking pretty handy out here, Devin. But it looks like he's going to stay out, and it does seem like that second lap tends to be the best one.
Yeah, it's something where you can kind of evaluate yourself and see where can I be faster. Kuhn coming off of turn 4 this time, trying to improve. Just a little bit. Won't be a huge gain there, but a little bit faster.
So in the rare case, we found a driver who goes quicker on the 3rd full lap. Can he actually do it one more time and make himself go up a position into 9th? Potentially, or maybe the next row into row 4. No, it's going to be slower, so he'll stay 10th at best. And we don't have any other drivers on track. No, we do. Wayne Hutchison and Adam Halleck look like they are now out there. Hutchison up to 17th. Halleck just getting ready to set his first time lap.
Yeah, and Wayne's on to his 3rd lap, so he's going to be trying to improve. But like you said, it's been hard to see any improvements. So there he does get an improvement. That jumps up 2 spots up to the 15th spot. Adam Halleck himself is going to start his first flying lap now. And Jeff Schmeier as well starting his flying lap. We also have Brett Trosen, who's going to be coming around there, starting his flying laps as well.
So as Hutchison takes his final lap, again, not able to go any quicker. But still, 15th is a good showing here in the qualifying. Halleck on his first lap down in 24th. A lot of work to do there. Looks like Jeff Schmeier slightly quicker. He's up to 20th as he gets one on the board. What about Trocine? The 944 is a 21.211. That's actually going to be our slowest lap so far in the qualifying. Oh, and Schmeier. He was on the wall there, the pit entry wall.
Yeah, it's easy to do to lose the back end on these things, and once you do, it's nearly impossible to recover. But Trocine looks like he's really struggling with finding the speed through the corners. He's trying to get a little bit lower, but he's going to try a higher line this time. I think he's going to find it to be faster.
Still puts him last of the cars who have set a time, though, so not doing quite what he wanted. Halleck goes up to 19th with his latest lap. Continuing to find a little bit of pace. I think we've got Aaron Roofs out now, which would leave only one more car yet to set a time. Trocine goes still quicker, but is 0.2 off the next time.
And Adam Halleck goes up to 14th with his next lap around, so he improved over all 4 of his laps. So he's definitely getting more comfortable the more laps he runs out there. This is Aaron Roofs starting his first timed lap here, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers who waited toward later in the session handle this. Aaron getting a very loose through 1 and 2.
It is down to 71 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface, Devin, so I think there's a few that are hunting for those little tenths and hundredths so they can find.
And that can absolutely help. We saw a few drivers getting loose off of turn 4, and that in part is because of losing that rear end. The track's a little hot, but having the track temperature low is just one more thing you don't necessarily have to worry about Roof's here trying to complete another lap, trying to improve upon that 20.522. Off of turn 4, hoping for a big improvement here right now at the bottom of the board. And it is a pretty big improvement right there. 20.217 boosts him up to 20th.
He just bounced off the wall there, and so unfortunately this lap won't count, so he'll be setting up for his 4th lap to count this time around. He's going to try and get an early exit off of 4 onto the front straightaway to try and get as much speed through there. As you see, that last lap did not count, so here he goes to 1 and 2, his final lap, his final opportunity to try and improve from that 20th position.
Going to be solidly in the mid-pack, and that could be a danger zone with this many cars out there. Round 3 and 4, down to the line. Nothing in it. It's going to be a 20.216 for Roofs. Fletcher's not out on the track, which means our qualifying is now set for race 1 of our 2-race night. Let's go through that order with Matthew Pilas on the pole. Looks like Christian Challoner is going to try and challenge him, and he will start to his outside. Eric Smith will be P3, and Kevin Hill starts in 4th. An excellent qualifying for the Salami. Bob Beltrami starting P5, and Ryan Steele is to his outside in 6th. Johnny Nichols will be P7. Justin Morton hops over from the Grand National Series in bootleg here to a little bit more powerful cars, starting 8th, and Travis Warling will be P9. Rounding out your top 10, Adam, is going to be Nick Kuhn.
Andrew Waring starts off in 11th position. Alongside him is going to be Steve Driscoll in row 6, with row 7 being Bryan Barns alongside Adam Halleck on the outside there. Liam Quinn's going to start off in 15th with Wayne Hutchison, a dark horse pick for the win today, in the 16th position. Brian McGreevy's going to start off in 17th with Jason Wald alongside him, and your top 20 are rounded out by Wade Hayes and Aaron Roofs. Devin?
Lyndon Swaby will be in 21st, Jeff Schmeier in 22nd. Rob Gal will start off in 23rd, Lynn Concholi in 24th, David Hall in 25th, Bruce Jones in 26th. Rounding out the field, Brett Tolson and also William Fletcher, your 28-car field here in our first event of the night at Lucas Oil Raceway.
So since we got a little bit of time here, I want to take a quick look at where our championship contenders sit. Challoner, as we saw, all the way up in the front row is sitting pretty. Warling, who's chasing him in the points, he's second in the points. He's all the way down in 9th, but again, not impossible to climb upwards and try and challenge depending on what kind of pace he has. Now, what about Steve Driscoll? Well, he's actually not too much farther back. He sits in the 12th position. So again, doing decently. Wade Hayes, however, who is 4th in the points, well, all the way down in 19th. He has a much tougher road to hoe.
Yeah, and Joe, the danger zone that seemed to be the case for a lot of these drivers was that 10th to 15th positions when it came to the restarts and starts for the cautions. So look for that to be the case here tonight as well.
All right, we got 2 pace laps around here, then we go green. We'll see whether or not they can keep it green for long. As we said, cautions were a major feature in the other 2 regions. So the Mustang pace car has completed lap 1. Hylas, not a name we've seen, I don't think, up in the top split yet. I'm trying to recall if we've had him yet here in the majors. And the pro split, you have to qualify to get into here. You have to have the speed, or they do have a dispensation for drivers who are competing for the championship and couldn't quite make the qualifying, just so that they can compete for maximum points. As the pace car is in, we now give control to Matthew. Let's see how early he goes. He waits, looking for the call. Green flag is out, and Matthew is on it. It's a good jump up at the front for him. Already well clear of Challoner. Single file for the top 4, top 5. Everybody behind them looking side by side. In fact, though, a little bit of a run back on the backstretch for Ryan Steele, who slips back into 6th.
A lot of these drivers haven't done a lot of side-by-side running, so this will be their first taste of that. As look at that, Pilas goes way down low there as he comes off the corner a little bit badly. Christian Challoner looking for an opportunity with Eric Smith tucked in behind him. It's still side by side there for the 8th position on back. As Nick Kuhn is in the wall. He's hit it hard. He's trying to keep it out of the wall. It's going to stay green.
Pilus up here. It looks like he's kind of diamonding off the corner a little bit more. Challenger's now given an opportunity here, using that inside lane. Doesn't have the momentum. Pilus looks like he's very aggressively diamonding off these corners, entering lower and then exiting lower as well.
Challenger continues to give chase. Look behind them, though. Eric Smith not falling away. He still is someone to be concerned with. As we were riding on board with Challenger, you can see how close he is to that rear pod.
Yeah, Challenger is definitely looking onto the back of Matthew Pilus, and this is the first time in a while that I've seen a second-place driver really have an opportunity. He's going to dive down to the very bottom of the track to try and get going there. Here we go, up at the front once again, Christian Challenger. You can see looking from the back of Matthew Pilus, trying to get going. Oh, Ryan Steele's in the outside wall. Similar incident as we saw with Nick Kuhn. I believe it's going to stay green yet once again, Devin.
And this is tough. When you get that right side damage, that can very easily take out your suspension, and you're just trying to stay on the lead lap and not make an issue for cars in front of you. Challenger again looking to contest on the inside here. He just will not have the momentum, though, coming off a 4.
And Devin, with that being so less banked down at the bottom, with it being kind of shallow, will moves like that start to eat up his tires? Does he have to be a little bit sparse with how often he tries that move?
Absolutely. Just like regular short track cars, your right front gets eaten up and the car will not turn. Although in real life, I know that slide jobs are usually just for dirt cars, but when it comes to this track and Silver Crown cars, typically a slide job is a viable move to make passes. But these kind of go-kart Silver Crown cars in iRacing work a little bit differently, but slide jobs still can be a method. Here we go to the inside again.
For it, Challenger seems eager to try and get up to the front and control this race, but so far it's not working out for him. So he slots back in line. We've been green since it first dropped here in race 1, almost 10 laps in. They are starting to pull away from Eric Smith. I talked earlier about him holding on to the back of things, but the 32 seems to not be able to keep up, and now he's forming a little bit of a train behind. Beltrami, Hill, Nichols, and Morton still right up there.
And as they start to form that train, we have another car on the outside wall. That's Adam Halleck. He's able to get off of it and not cause a caution. So a lot of drivers taking it easy here in this 100-lap race. We're about a tenth of the way through it, just passing through lap 10 right now. Christian Challenger still looking at the back of Matthew Pilus, and he's going to try and dive it deep into the corner. Pilus gets up a little bit too high that time around. That's going to give Christian an opportunity as they come off of the corner.
Very difficult for Christian to try and execute, but he seems to think he's got the pace. He keeps trying and trying despite the lack of results. So as they continue on cycling around here at Lucas Oil Raceway, your order is Pilus leading, Challenger second, Smith third, Beltrami fourth, and Hill in P5. One of our big movers so far has actually been Lynn Kinchlow. He's up from 24th on the grid to 19th already. Oh, we got a car low, though. Brett Trocine off the pace for some reason.
Yeah, Trocine actually came into the pits, so he might have already used his spare car. It's something we didn't talk about at the beginning of this race. You do have a spare car that's available to them, so Trocine is out, and he's at the back of the pack now, trying to circulate around and gain some time back. Christian Challenger, though, just cannot make that bottom side work. He's not carrying quite enough speed into the corner because Pilus is able to carry too much speed through the corner. So Christian Challenger not able to get that slide job done safely. He can't force Pilus offline yet. Wow, he's got the best running he's had yet.
And I think part of the issue is that he's really giving a lot of room down low. When he goes low, he goes very low. Maybe he tries to just be up a little bit higher. That will help him going down the straightaways to have a little bit more speed to make the move in the next corner.
Goes again. As we saw, he's been getting right up to the rear of that leader. It just can't quite make it stick when he gets low. Behind them, lots of action, though, with Waring and Warling battling with each other just to make life difficult for the commentators. They've also got Justin Morton. He's been side by side quite a bit. Driscoll currently to his low side as Ryan Steele gives watch. There are a ton of unorthodox drivers surrounding Morton.
Yeah, and Travis Worling actually did a textbook pass. He was able to get alongside through one of the corners and off of the next straight. He just dove it in and just stuffed his rear bumper right in front of Justin Morton's front bumper, and that's exactly how he got by. And now, with Justin Morton trapped on that high side, he's trapped another lane higher than what we see most of the other runners doing, and only now is he going to be able to pull Steve Driscoll off the corner.
Pulling them up quite a bit back here, this group falling backwards, and looks like it'll settle out with Driscoll into 10th and Morton into 9th, although Steele's eyeing that 10th position now as he holds the high side over the 51. That has been the desirable line all night long, but Driscoll sends it in deep, and in fact, too deep though for Steele, who brushes the wall. He's going to lose a spot to Bryan Barns because of that mistake.
Yeah, Devin, I'm really impressed to see a lot of these drivers managing to keep these things going straight when they've been having troubles on the outside wall. A lot of times you'll see them slide up that wall and ping pong off, as we have another battle for the lead. Christian Challoner with possibly his best opportunity here into 3 and 4.
By every time, even though he's side by side on the entry into 1 or to 3, that's what happens every single time. He starts to fall back on the low side of the corner. Just isn't working out for him. They've been caught once again by Eric Smith, who has reeled them in from what was probably about double or triple this gap what they have right now.
And Challoner will have to be careful, because eventually Smith is going to catch up, and if he loses all that momentum on the inside, that will be easy picking for Eric Smith here coming around the outsides. He continues to close in on these two.
And we're going to have a caution because Jeff Schmeier was up and around in 3 and 4. Not sure if this was a multi-car incident.
No, this was a single car incident, unfortunately, Joe. He just goes a little bit too deep into one of the corners. You're gonna see it here.
Yeah, it starts in 2. It's the exit onto the backstretch. You'll see him actually smack the wall right here. Watch the right side, and then from there he just can't get off the wall.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I was talking about these cars liking to ride the wall. They like to do that grind up there on that high side, and unfortunately, there's nothing you could really do about that. But once you get slow enough, and once that car turns around, iRacing has to throw out that caution.
That is not the kind of riding the wall that these drivers want to do, though. That was a very different kind of riding the wall across 3 and 4. But what that tells me is that these right fronts are starting to wear off. And that tells me that these leaders are going to have to start adapting to what the car is going to give them. And that might make the difference of some guys starting to make moves and start moving their way up front.
Well, somebody's asking Jeff, do you feel it now, Mr. Krabs? Because that car was not tracking quite right. He's got it back out as he took his spare, and is he still on the lead lap, actually? I think he is, miraculously.
It was a quick recovery for essentially having all 4 wheels up over the wall. So congratulations to him. That was a difficult type of incident to come back from and get back on the lead lap.
That's Brett Trocine you see going around the pace car for his lucky dog. That's good for him. He'll get one of those laps back that he lost. I think he's going to put him back on the lead lap. So good fortunes for him.
A couple drivers taking pit stops. I see David Hall in and Lyndon Swaby, both of them taking a little bit of service. Now, this is something where I'm not as sure about what we have to expect today, what the pit cycles, what the pit strategy needs to look like. It is 2 races, so they are both a little bit shorter than a major endurance event like we tend to see here in the majors.
I mean, they are open setup, so it could be something to do with their fuel calculations. They may be expected to do more cautions, considering the fact that we had so many in the other regions. I mean, we almost went a quarter of this race without having a caution, Joe. So that's just bucking the statistics that we saw the rest of the weekend.
It's certainly a good sign for sure. As your order now up at the top hasn't changed much. Pilas, Challoner, Smith, Beltrami, and Hill are still your top 5. Let's see if anybody else has been moving along more than what we saw with Kinchlow, and I'm not seeing anybody really dramatic. Kinchlow seems to be the one that's really done the best so far in the early laps.
Yeah, and that just speaks to how hard it is to pass around here. I mean, you saw Christian Challoner. Challoner is a master at trying to make unpredictable passes, but he just couldn't make anything work with Matthew Pilas up there at the front. And so this is exactly why qualifying was so important. The leader of the race always has an advantage around here at Lucas Oil Raceway in these USAC sprint cars.
Okay, lights are off, so we're going to get restarted. This will be double file. Knowing that, Devin, do you want to be in the even spots on these restarts? Is there much advantage, or is the low side still got it when the speeds are low?
Well, I think we saw at the start of the race the type of run that Pilas got when he started the race. You want to be where that guy is because you might even gain a spot, but it will be simpler to be on the outside because you do have that advantage. You don't have to force your way back up to the outside lane.
Well, we'll see how it plays out because this will be our first restart of the night. This will be telling, and drivers will be taking notes as the green flag waves with lap 28 ticking off. Pilas is a good jump once again. That looks good for our top four. They're all getting in line quite easily, but it looks like Nichols is going to be up into P5. As behind them, 3 wide, a little bit farther back, Bryan Barns stuck in the middle of that group. And in fact, it's a whole army of those unorthodox cars going back from P6 down to 9th.
Yeah, Justin Morton's just going to back out of this. He's seeing the danger, and he knows that he could get caught up in something if he's not careful. So he's going to drop all the way back down to 14th position. But a lot of these drivers have noticed how hard it is to pass, so they're trying to get stuff done here on these restarts, and that's exactly what leads to cautions. But these guys keeping their fenders clean right now.
Morton is being very conservative. He is hugging that inside line. That's the last place you want to be for speed right now. But right now, just trying to play it careful, maybe even going a little slower through the center of the corner and on entry, saving up a little bit of tire potentially.
Still stuck down there, and he might not get a spot soon because there's a bunch of people lined up behind him as we once again check back in on the 595 car. Matthew Pilas up at the front, riding on board and looking back at an entire field. Still 27 cars out there running, trying to chase him down.
Yeah, Pilas is being very conservative in the center of the corner, and that's why he's maintaining that gap over Christian Challoner. Christian's gaining on entry and even gaining a little bit on exit, but Pilas just staying conservative, just keeping himself exactly where he needs to be, keeping those tires clean. He's forcing Challoner to go around him, and here comes another attempt from Challoner. He's going to have to set it very deep into this corner to try and make this work.
And he just can't quite do it. Wonder if this is a case of just not feeling brave enough to try a risky move like that this early, because we still have 2/3 of the way to go. He's going to stay on the bottom line for almost an entire lap here. Ooh, he's very alongside him, very far alongside him, this time down into 1, and yet somehow Matthew fending him off. This one looks good though. Now he's got actually got a nose ahead. Tries to brake as deep as he dares. He's staying beside him, but Adam, I don't know if he's got it. He almost washes up in front of him, and he's not clear. This is the move. Can he finally get it done? No, he's going to be denied yet again, Adam.
Yeah, Pilas actually got into the outside wall. That's what bounced him off of it and almost into Challoner, but Challoner finally closes the door as he was able to squeeze Pilas and make him feel uncomfortable. Eric Smith is going to look at that and think, how the heck am I going to do that? He had to run side by side with Pilas for almost 6 laps, but now Pilas is going to try the low side because remember, he's got fresher tires. He's been up there in the preferred line for most of this race.
Behind them, Andrew Waring just took P5 away from Johnny Nichols. So that's going to move last week's winner up within the top 5, seeing if he could maybe follow through on what Challoner did. This has been pretty good racing so far amongst all these drivers. And the one I continue to be impressed by is Beltrami, still running within that top 5 and showing what he can do on short tracks.
And he's still hanging in there as well. Smith right now is in a great position right behind Pilas. Pilas running a little bit lower. You might even see Smith get a little bit of a run and be able to challenge for that second position. And Beltrami in the catbird seat. He's in a really good spot right now to hop onto the podium if anyone makes a mistake.
Oh, maybe not, because I think he had a little bit of mistake of his own. Now Waring's trying to pounce on it behind them. They're side by side. Waring's got the inside down into turn 1. He completes the pass into there, looking for a bit of an over-under. Beltrami tries to sneak his way underneath, and it looks like that Andrew's too savvy for that. He covered him off.
Yeah, these front tires are starting to go, especially the front right. I'm noticing Pilas way up high. I'm noticing Bob Beltrami starting to drift high off of the corner exits. Christian Challoner, who races a lot of NASCAR and oval car series, he's very used to this phenomenon, especially in the NASCAR series, as we see a side-by-side battle for second place there. That's between Matthew Pilas and Eric Smith, as Eric's looking to that low side, thinking he's got some better turnoff on that machine than Pilas at this point. He's going to try and make this work. If he can stay down there, he might be able to do the same thing Christian did and just wear out Pilas on the high side.
And this definitely seems to have interrupted Pilas's momentum. Not only is he losing on Challoner, like you said, it seems like he's already under attack. Smith couldn't get it done. The more they tussle like this, look at this. Here comes Andrew Waring. Wow, and both of them going down way low while Waring says, you guys have fun down there. I'm just going to follow the normal racing line and see what he can do with that. He's got a great shot, but he runs out of straightaway down the backstretch.
Warren is going to get some great runs here on the high side. Right now with these two battling side by side, Warren will just keep on closing in and eventually a hole will open up. I assure you of that. Oh, in the wall.
Goes a little too high. Oh, and he's stuck now. He can't get it off. All of his unorthodox teammates stream by. He falls from fourth place, down to 10th with that mistake.
He's got a damaged front clip now. Fortunately, he does have that fast repair that he can take if he decides it's necessary. But yeah, that's all that effort lost, down to 10th position, unfortunately for him.
Back to second place then. It was a 3-car fight. It's dwindled down to 2 once more. Pilas holding on to second place, but it's a whole 1 second gap between himself and Challoner.
Yeah, now Bob Beltrami starting to form a queue in behind him. Just like with all of the oval racing series, it's a game of inches here with these Silver Crown machines. They are getting so close to the wall. We've seen from Andrew Waring's incident just how dangerous that outside wall is. Oh, a little bit of contact to the rear end there. Eric Smith getting into the back of Matthew Pilas. That was close.
Good catch from Pilas. I think there was a little bit of a sorry from Smith on the radio from that one. Didn't quite expect to catch him that quickly. That's going to hurt them all the more. It's stretched up from that 1 second gap to 1.4 seconds now. So, boy, this is starting to look like Challoner's to lose. And if he starts on pole next race, well, no, he'll start 10th because they will reverse it. That'll be a very different story for him then.
I mean, Devin, I wanted to save my judgment, but I mean, these guys are racing fantastic. The whole field, everyone fighting tooth and nail, but giving just enough room to make sure that each other doesn't wreck. This is exactly what we were hoping to see tonight.
I'm really impressed having 27 cars out here on the track and really no major incidents. I figured at the very start of this race, you'd be having guys 3 wide and not knowing exactly how much you need to check up on the inside, or guys try and make passes and not really knowing how the car will react, maybe sliding up a little bit. When Challoner got by Pilas, I saw a number of opportunities for him to do a slide job, but if you don't know how to not hit the wall on exit when you just throw it in that hard on the inside, you're going to end up taking yourself out. So these drivers are really showing a lot of patience right now.
We saw on the exit of 4 just recently, Smith may have used up his stuff because he had a big slide coming off the turn. You could see how much of a gap that has built up between himself and Pilas now. And in fact, it looks like Beltrami could be gaining enough that he could have an attack. So now officially halfway through this race as we've hit lap 50. Oh, and some side-by-side action as Nichols has Driscoll to the inside.
Yeah, this has been building for a little bit. Driscoll has been trying to get an edge on Nichols and actually almost ran to the back of him coming off a 4 the last time around. But now Driscoll down to the bottom side. He's got some right front tire left. He's got some nice speed down there. But look at this. This is the struggle trying to get that pass done on the bottom side. Oh, look at that. A lunge ahead. And he's going to do exactly the right thing. He's going to put his car exactly right in front of Nichols. That was amazing stuff right there. Knowing exactly how much grip he had to put his nose ahead there.
And that is almost the perfect slide job when it comes to these kinds of payment cars. It's not like a dirt car because obviously you can't slide like that. But that's what you want to do. You go in a little bit earlier and you're able to outbrake them. And you just slide the car up like a block pass and you sail away on corner exit.
Way farther down in the field, Lynn Kinchlow has been getting feisty with Wade Hayes. He was on the radio with him about something, and then when I went over and looked, he made contact on the backstretch, on the straightaway with that 33. We've got the replay here. Let's take a look at this. So this is going to be happening on the backstretch here. You can see fighting side by side down across the start-finish line. They'd already had some words up to this point. Might be a little later. We'll hold on to see if we can find it. If not, as you can see, they're both able to continue. So it looks like we won't be able to see that one. So as we're back live and
Joe,
still watching.
There definitely was contact between the two of them, but now Lynn has some
Ooh,
front
we got a
end damage.
caution.
We have a spin. Travis Warling's around.
Kevin Hill involved in it.
Liam Quinn. These are some major points contenders here, and especially major points getters for some of the top teams.
So
They're
where
still
did that
wrecking.
Start. Oh, it looks like with Warling. Warling actually made contact, interestingly, with Nichols, and Nichols managed to save the car. But unfortunately for the UDOX guys, flying information kind of bit them there. Look at that.
Yeah, and they continue to wreck afterward as the cars try and recover here. And that's just a huge, huge tactical blunder, unfortunately, for the UDOX machines. They just trying to find ways by, and looks like, Hill gets collected, actually, from behind.
Yeah, I think he was checking up, and the guy behind him was blind, just knocked him around. Didn't see who it was, but Hill has had to come in and get a spare car. His suspension must have been knocked just the wrong way. So they've already been picked up by the pace car. Challenger will have the restart this time. Lap 57. Still quite a ways to go as we've hit caution number 2 at Lucas Oil Raceway.
And I think a telltale sign of how this race is going to go comes from guys with setup experience on ovals, and maybe even a little bit when it comes to dirt track racing. But I think that will play a major factor when you look at the right front tire. You can do camber, caster, towing. If you have that short track experience setting up your car, then you know exactly what that right front might just need to maybe have enough speed, but then to outlast the cars in front of you. That's going to be important as we move into the final 40 laps. And I think the guys who have that extra short track experience in setups will be the guys to be a little bit more victorious once we find the checkered flags.
And also, you have to keep in mind that some of the driver setups were designed to lead, and some of the driver setups were designed to pass. And the ones that were designed to pass are not going to be quite as good running the entire high line, whereas the ones that are designed to lead are not going to be as good at diving down to the bottom to try and get the passes done. So as we can see, Christian Challenger and Matthew Pilas both have cars that prefer to lead. Eric Smith, I think, is in that boat as well. So is Bob Beltrami. But Steve Driscoll, Johnny Nichols, Ryan Steele, all of them have cars that I think are much better angled off the corner to try and get speed down low. So look for them to try and get some passes done when they get to this restart.
There's some more of our winners and losers. Wayne Hutchison up 8 positions. Has been having a good day, almost as good as, actually equally as good as Lynn Kinchlow. As Lynn actually now up to 16th from 24th. So right on board with Hutchison. I love how minimalist these cars are inside as well. Just not a whole lot to them, as we are double file because the lights are off on the pace car. So we're gonna get going one more time. That entry happens very early here. So means Christian Challenger already has control of the field. Ooh, oh, and was there a little bit of a bump there from Eric Smith as he tried to go and jump the start? Had to get on the brakes. That cost him a ton of positions and falls back to 5th.
It cost everyone in his lane a ton of positions, actually. Christian Challenger out free and clear with Matthew Pilas tucked in behind him. Bob Beltrami in the 3rd position, but side by side between Eric Smith and Johnny Nichols. Johnny on the high side, Eric on the low side. Is Eric trying to recover from that? Oh my goodness, he almost cuts off that UDOX car of Steve Driscoll there. That's going to be very close as they go into 1 and 2.
Almost contact between Smith and Driscoll out of 2, but they managed to keep out of each other. Oh, and once again, sending it in deep. Steve Driscoll, obviously with a very different line from what Smith has in front of him. Smith goes low. Maybe he's slow. Maybe he's got damage in a straight line here, because that car was suddenly caught very quickly down the line.
went back and took a look, and Eric Smith did jump it just a little bit. He expected Christian to go before he did, and so Christian did maintain his pace, and that won't be a penalty for Christian as we've seen in another round. So unfortunately for Eric, that was just one of those things that happens when you're trying to anticipate that restart. But look at this, Bob Beltrami. Oh my goodness, that was Matthew Pilots going down low. Bob Beltrami starting to hold up Johnny Nichols a little bit. Johnny's going to look to the low side.
Was looking for something if he's not careful, though. Here comes Eric Smith. Smith on the high side as well. He could demote him a position instead of getting one. So Nichols is going to have to be Johnny on the spot if he wants that spot, and he's not, unfortunately. He gets caught out by Beltrami. Now here comes Smith up to his high side. He's got the momentum. Oh, and they come together, and he's off and into the wall, getting plowed into by other cars. Another unorthodox machine gets caught. More of them trickling in. It's Steve Driscoll who unfortunately went for the tumble.
And there was an entirely separate wreck to that on the front stretch as well that had Rob Gall facing backwards. So we had two wrecks that happened at the same time.
So Driscoll went back down the track, clipped some more drivers. I think Travis Warling involved in that. Nick Kuhn got a piece of it. And then looks like Lynn Kenchlow as well. So two of his unorthodox teammates. Here's the incident with Gall as well, which is completely separate.
Yeah, and this was just Jason Wallet not realizing that the caution was going to come out, and he comes in right in behind Gall and nails him on the rear end, exiting 4.
Simple spin for Gall, thankfully. So it could have been so much worse. This has been a comedy of errors for the unorthodox team, who've traditionally shown fairly well on the oval side so far this season. I'm a bit shocked that they've been having some of the bad luck that they've had.
It's definitely not normal for them to have this bad luck, but they have been racing very aggressively, getting very close to other drivers. And remember, we are only about two-thirds of the way through this race. There's still quite a bit to go here. So the aggression, while it's getting you track position, it's also a huge risk, and we're seeing the payouts of that risk right now, unfortunately, because of how hard it is to pass around this track.
And for Eric Smith, I thought that he might have gone away with that a little unharmed after getting smashed up into the wall, but he does have some pretty significant front-end damage. If the suspension, it seems okay, but he hasn't went to pit road quite yet, but he's got some damage on that front wing, but as long as that car turns right, he'll be okay.
Well, as long as the car turns left.
Turns left, yeah. I guess I should say it that way, huh?
So far, so good, since it seems to be turning left here on the pace laps. I think we're going to get one to go next time by. We should be back to green pretty shortly. Kevin Hill, sadly, is in pit lane. We've had a few more that have come in and gone laps down to get repairs. In fact, only 21 drivers left on the lead lap. The last of them is Retro Scene.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this next restart happens. Christian Challoner is going to have the control of the race once again. And that was Jason Wallet who pulled over to the side of the road, so he's going to the back of the pack. So the lap car is starting to get filtered on back now.
Travis Warling just came into the pits too, it looks like, as the lights are indeed off. That's going to be a lot of laps lost unless Warling can get back out. And it does look like, okay, he's going to stay on the lead lap, but he's going to be way behind here because we are, oh, no, lights are back on. They just turned them back on.
I believe so, because Wallet was parked at the bottom of the pit straight, so they would have considered that to be a track obstruction.
Ha. I wonder, well, he's getting back in line. I think Jason maybe had some sort of hardware issue or some such, because it seems like he's getting back going once more. Right, now we are double file. And Christian Challoner will have another restart here. This has been caution number 3. They picked up in the latter half of the first race. Let's hope that's not a continuing trend. Can we go green for the final 28-some laps? 3 and 4. Challoner waiting. Last time he caught out those behind him. This time it's a little bit cleaner as Pilas is going to be able to get into second place. Beltrami fighting with Eric Smith. Smith going to try and use that high side momentum to fight back on him. Behind them, Steele going to be able to stay ahead of Wayne Hutchison.
Yeah, Hutchison, remember, was one of those drivers I said was a dark horse to win this thing. He's up there in the top 10 now, battling side by side with Bryan Barns. And we have a side-by-side battle as well between Bob Beltrami and Ryan Steele as they're up there trying to fight for position. But it currently is Christian Chandler in the lead.
David Hall with a big wreck down the backstretch. They went 3 wide, and he is actually going to disappear as he went off the racing surface and over the wall. This was with Halleck and Kinchlow.
Yeah, the backstretch does not have a catch fence. Oh my goodness, another U-Dogs car caught up in this right there.
Interestingly, before this, right at the restart, Wallet and Trocine got into each other and hit the wall. There was no caution for it, but both of them fell back down the order. And unfortunately, I hear Wallet on the radio once again. It seems like he has not been having the best of days. As we get that sorted out, the drivers get things sorted out, we're going to go to a very quick break after caution number 4 for race 1. Stick around because we have more yet to come here in round 11 of the majors. It is the Rich Vogler Classic. Welcome back to the Majors Rich Vogler Classic here at Lucas Oil Raceway. We're getting ready to restart once again after caution number 4. And Christian Chandler, excuse me, is still our leader. It's been a little bit messy since lap 50 with a number of cautions coming in. Drivers may be getting antsy, knowing they've got to make moves if they want something to happen. Green flag is out, and a very good jump from Chandler this time. In fact, Pilas looks like he was really napping back in second place. Eric Smith holding on to third as the Salami not really getting the start he wanted. He's left fighting back and forth with Steele for fourth.
Yeah, Ryan Steele up there on that high side trying to make that power work. Looks like Bob is just really struggling with corner exit at this point. He's getting very tight there on the low side. We're seeing that trouble start to rear its ugly head as Wayne Hutchison goes by as well into 5th position. Bob Beltrami starting to slip back. We have a wreck behind him. Liam Quinn. No, that's Andrew Waring that's around. Oh, hard wreck for him.
Big wreck. Waring tumbling down the backstretch. Second time we've seen that tonight. Who else was involved here? Looks like Wade Hayes was initially the one that he got into. Just drifted up high, it looks like.
Justin Morton got caught up in it as well.
Oh. Justin knows how those things can happen here very quickly on tracks like this. Yeah, he's the one there, right there, just caught him.
And I don't even think that this is the past couple of cautions have really been cases of drivers losing their patience or go time or anything. I think a lot of these guys are just trying to figure out on old, cold tires, you know, how do you get off corner exit? And this time it's just one driver came off a little bit lower, didn't want to jerk the wheel to the right. And since there's a car under him, didn't expect the guy on top to be that low. And it ends up being a huge wreck for a bunch of drivers that had nothing to do with it behind them.
Incredibly, we still have 27 runners. I'm curious if this will change now that we've had another incident, and I'm pretty sure Waring might be out of spare cars. Yes, oh, his car is severely damaged. There you see it right now, and is not popped back into place. So he's going to either have to sit and be patient and hope that it's in good enough condition that he can return to the track for the final few laps, or he is done for the day, with a radiator in clear view, unfortunately for us right now.
Yeah, it looks like he's gotten out of the car, Joe. So unfortunately, I think that his first race is going to be done here. Justin Morton, though, I do want to mention this. He got landed on by Andrew Waring. Andrew was up about 10 feet above him and lands on his roof. Now, fortunate for Justin, it doesn't look like they have those, the roll cage damage simulated, because I think he might be fine. We'll see whether or not he's down on power on this restart, but he's going to be restarting in 10th.
We're still waiting for the lights to go out. We're starting to run out of laps too. We're up to lap 83 now. So even if we do get a restart, it's not going to be the longest of runs to the finish here, especially with laps ticking off in just over 20 seconds in race pace. Temperatures are holding station, interestingly, at about 71 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. Those have not gone down since the green first dropped here tonight at Lucas Oil Raceway.
It's very fascinating to see the types of people we have in the top 10. You know, we have Christian Challenger and Matthew Pilas, who we expected to be up there. Eric Smith, who's been racing very well today. Ryan Steele up there in 4th position. Wayne Hutchison in 5th. And then Bob Beltrami still holding on to that top 10 position, just having slipped down to 6th on those last 2 restarts. Then you have Bryan Barns, who we usually see up there in the top 10, with Lynn Kinchlow doing a good job for himself. He's usually around the top 10 positions, sometimes in, sometimes out. Liam Quinn's a little bit further back than we usually see him, down in 9th. And then Justin Morton, who we know that short ovals are his specialty, he's down in 10th position at this time.
Here's what's fascinating. Of the top 5 in points right now, the highest of them is Liam Quinn in 9th place. Everybody else is just struggling right now. Some of them might actually already be done for the day, sadly, or at least severely compromised for the first race. I keep saying done for the day. Done for this race is how I should put it. All right, we're going to get restarted one more time. It's been messy. Can we clean it up? Christian Challenger takes the green. Behind him, Pilas easily into 2nd place one more time. Ryan Steele now seeing if he could claim 3rd place, and he does, over Eric Smith as the salami slots into 5th.
And Christian might have actually backed them down just a little bit too much coming off of that corner. That'll be one for the competition crew to decide later, but it's now single file up there for the top 5 positions, but the battle for 6 is very striking between Wayne Hutchison, Lynn Kinchlow, Justin Morton, and Bryan Barnes, who are all bottled up into a cluster of 4.
And yes, that is Lynn Kinchlow, who started 24th, now within the top 10 fighting potentially for a top 5 depending on what he can do with this situation. He's stuck low beneath Barnes, who gets the better shot off of 4, so have to give up for the time being.
Fascinating to see him enter that last corner into 1 and 2 low. He now goes back up to that high side, but looks like that front clip damage is starting to affect him. You can see it popped up there on the right side of his machine, but he's still going strong as he possibly can be, but unfortunately he's falling back farther and farther now.
So behind them, Smith and Beltrami in a little bit of a fight for P4. You can also see behind them Hutchison and Morton. So Morton, despite having a car landing on top of him, still looking for a good finish here today, as they've got 2 pairs of very good fights amongst the top 10. Oh, into the wall. That was Smith. Beltrami tries to avoid, but I think he knocked into the back of him.
Yeah, Beltrami now slow on the low side, unfortunately, and that's going to let Smith go back by. Wayne Hutchison trying to look for an opportunity, but unfortunately he can't get by either. This is going to bring Justin Morton into play.
I'm surprised Hutchison and Morton really weren't able to take advantage of both drivers slowing down on the track a little bit. It looks like Smith's suspension okay from that hit, although it was a pretty big lick, and now you got to get back into rhythm with only 10 laps to go.
I think the one trying to take advantage of it right now is Justin Morton, all the way down to the very low side of Wayne Hutchison. Looks for the slide job, but there's nothing there for him. Hutchison fends him off. Morton gives it one more shot down into 3. Can't quite keep the momentum up, and he's got to give up the ghost.
He's got to get back up high because that's Bryan Barns closing in on him. Bryan's going to look a little bit of a lane lower, trying to get that corner off the exit there, but Justin Morton, he definitely looks faster than Wayne, but it's so hard to pass around here on merit. He's got to try and find a way by out-braking Wayne. Oh my goodness, he's very loose off of the corner, but he's getting some decent speed still.
Don't need a replay of it, but I can tell you that Halleck in the 36 hit the wall entering 1. He's able to keep going. It was a hard smack. So Justin Morton still in P7. He wants P6 to ride on board with Wayne. Looking back at the total downforce racing car, and seems like that TDR machine getting bigger and bigger in the mirrors.
Well, Joe, he actually might not want P6 if he thinks about it hard enough, because remember, the top 10 invert into the next race. So if he stays where he is, or even if he lets Bryan Barnes by, he's going to be in a really good position going into the second race today.
Currently, Justin Morton would start in 4th on the next race if he stays put.
Points are points, although I guess starting 4th would put you on the outside, but Justin Morton, he's right up on that rear tail tank. He's just waiting for a time to strike, running out of time though from before to go.
I don't think Morton is very high up in the points, so I'm not sure how much the championship is important to him right now as he continues to fight on the low side, and he gets oh so close through 1 and 2. He's going to hold with him coming through 3 and 4, but we've seen this story before, and last time he slotted back in the line.
Second place! Matthew Pilots into the outside wall. He's able to keep it going, but that was a major hit for him, and that's going to allow Ryan Steele to get up to second place.
And that was driver error. That was not contact between cars. Now, if he has to take a pit in this last lap to take a repair, then he is certainly going to be set down the order. But I don't think, as you said, I don't think we're going to get a caution now at this point. In fact, we're getting the white flag here very soon. There's the contact with the wall. Christian Challoner coming around with 1 lap to go and a big bit of clear track behind him. Ryan Steele 1.5 seconds down the road. Around 1 and 2, Christian Challoner has already racked up 7 wins. It's going to be half points for this one. I don't think he minds too much. Still going to be maximum, at least for the first race of 2. Christian Challoner takes the win here at Indianapolis.
Great finish from him. Justin Morton is not going to be able to pass Wayne Hutchison. He'll have to settle for 7th place there in that backpack battle. And it looks like everyone else is able to sort it out as they come back off of the back straight onto the front straight as we close out this first race.
And interesting note for you, guess who's on the pole? Lynn Kinchlow, the hard charger of this race. Now that he's got clear track, what can he do with that car? Let's go through that starting order really quickly so that you kind of have an idea of where things sit. We might just have to do it verbally here. Christian Challoner, not Christian Challoner, Lynn Kinchlow will be on the pole with Liam Quinn starting in second. Bryan Barns will start in third with Justin Morton in P4. You've got Wayne Hutchison in the fifth position with Bob Beltrami starting to his outside in sixth. Eric Smith will start seventh and Matthew Pilas in eighth. Then you've got Ryan Steele in ninth and Christian Challoner, the winner of first round, will restart in 10th.
Coming in 11th last race and starting in 11th today is going to be Travis Warling with Jeff Schmeier starting off in 12th. Brian McGreevy is going to start off in 13th with Aaron Roos starting off in 14th. 15th is going to be Nick Kuhn. Lining up next to him is going to be Rob Gall. Then we have Adam Halleck in 17th, Lyndon Swaby in 18th, and then your top 20 are rounded up by Jason Wallet and Brett Trocine.
And now for some guys who just had some bad luck and they're looking to maybe get a bit of they're going to drive through some guys here. Bruce Jones and Steve Driscoll in row number 11. Wade Hayes will start 23rd. David Hall in 24th. Johnny Nichols starts in 25th. 26th will be Kevin Hill. Andrew Warren will have to come all the way from 27th spot. You look at these back three drivers of Nichols, Hill, and Warren. They all qualified in the top 11, so we will have to see how they do in traffic. They're going to have to come a long ways from the back of the field.
We've got a few minutes of warm-up for the drivers just to get reacclimated. Nothing's really changed here. Weather, in fact, is still the same. So I want to take some time and talk to each of you about what surprised you about that first heat and what went as expected. Let's start with Devin, our short track expert here.
Well, I expected the tires to actually wear out a little bit more. I thought some more guys would have issues maybe in the middle of the corners, being able to get back down on the throttle, but it didn't seem like, maybe it did happen and these guys are just that good. I thought more drivers would have a little bit more trouble with that, but I'm really intrigued coming up in this next race. We already talked about having Kinchlow being able to start on the pole after going from 24th to 10th. How about Wayne Hutchison? He went up 10 spots. He started 16th. Now he finished in 6th. Now in this race, he will start in 5th. So he will only have to go half the amount of cars up that he went in the previous race to get up to P1.
Adam?
Yeah, I mean, what I expected, and don't get me wrong, these drivers are really good, but I expected more cautions. These cars are so hard to drive, and when they hit that outside wall, they tend to climb it like we saw earlier. And it's so easy to spin people around. All the rest of the regions had so many cautions throughout both of their races. I believe it was the European region that had 103 of their 200 laps tonight under caution. So I expected more cautions than that. But one of the things that did go as expected is seeing Christian Challoner up there doing such a good job out there at the front. Now, I was expecting this to be one of his more challenging things to tackle considering how twitchy the car is, but he's been able to manage it very well, and seeing him take that win is something that, quite frankly, I was expecting him to get to if we had enough green flag running.
It is worth noting this is not the first time they've run the Silver Crowns in the majors. They had the Copper Classic over at Phoenix Raceway. I think it was not last season, but the prior one, 2018, I want to say, that they ran that. And a lot of drivers seem to really take a shining to this car. It certainly produced a lot of fun. There was a few that said they might hop in a few official races. And if I recall, Challoner did quite well in that race as well. So not too shocked that Christian really took to this and seems to have found his feet very quickly, even though it's a little different from the NASCAR Cup cars that he's used to running at the pro level here on iRacing. With just about 30 minutes left to go, not everybody has gotten out on track, interestingly. Would have thought maybe we'd see a few, Adam, trying to get out there and make maybe minor adjustments.
Well, with 30 minutes left to go, they have plenty of time. But I think you meant 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yes.
Ready to go back onto this track. But yeah, I mean, I would have expected guys to get out there again, but I think they're probably just taking a break. I mean, these things get the sweat going for sure. It's a sweat factory in there. I've heard from Justin Morton, who I talked to before this race, and it can be very stressful driving them. So lots of them are probably just taking a break, getting some water, and getting reoriented, getting their heads back in the game for this start.
All right, checkered flag is now out for the warm-up, so we'll get the cars racked up once again. Race 2, half points still available. As the great Murray Walker once said, half the race is done. We still have half the race yet to go. So, as they start to line up, who has learned their lessons from the first race and who has not quite got it banged into their heads on how to be fast and how to be clean around these tracks? Now, even though we've talked a lot about unorthodox, I'm trying to think if we've seen much of the kinetic guys, because I really usually we see those deep blue paints up at the top of the field amongst a bunch of cars. And other than Christian, I'm trying to think of who else we had finished towards the front there.
Well, I mean, they don't have to worry that much with the UDOX cars having their own struggles during that race. They definitely are going to be scoring pretty well, especially with Christian taking the win for that race. So, I mean, we know that they have very fast drivers, but they have been riding the success of Christian for a while, and the fact that Unorthodox has been able to keep it within 1,000 points with Christian winning so many of these rounds is, quite frankly, very impressive. So, it is surprising not to see more of the kinetic machines up there, but it's not hurting them that badly tonight, I don't think. At least not in the last race.
Right. As Kinchlow now winds the car up, gets ready to get going. I wonder if he's feeling any nerves inside there, Devin, because I mean, it's one thing to run through the field. To start from the front, I have the feeling psychologically it's got to be very, very different.
And Adam talked about how some of these cars are set up to pass, some of these cars are set up to lead. Hopefully Kinchlow has a car for both, because obviously he came through the field, so that was a good setup to be able to pass guys. Maybe you want to protect on the bottom if you feel more comfortable there. I don't know, but obviously it was fast during the race, and with the kinds of restarts that Challenger had, it kind of sets a high bar for this initial start here.
All right, now on the second pace lap, he's going to be released soon. We saw a lot of restarts from Christian Challenger, none from Len Kinchlow. So what has he decided is the way to go here? To his side, Liam Quinn. That's one of our Kinetic drivers. Can Quinn maybe make it a 1-2 victory for Kinetic? Early start for Len Kinchlow. Green flag is out. Very different from what we saw from the other two leaders last round. Quinn's going to be able to retain second place, but what about Bryan Barns fighting with Justin Morton? Morton is going to claim third.
And Morton there on the high side was always going to get that position, especially on new, fresh, but also old tires here. These drivers having to deal with adversity as soon as they get off. What is going on? Len Kinchlow down to the bottom side of the track there. I think he might have gotten a little bit loose off of the corner, but now he's got the trouble of Liam Quinn up there trying to battle for that top spot.
And Quinn's going to take it. Second place might still be up for grabs. Kinchlow still struggling to collect himself as Morton seen P2, and he's going to snag it. Another spot down as Kinchlow is stuck on the low line. He tries to get up high. That's going to cause a big checkup. Some major players are going to find themselves involved in this. Beltrami in there. I saw Smith also go around. Oh, boy.
Yeah, that was a very stressful wreck for a lot of drivers, a lot of championship contenders getting taken out. Once again, more UDOX guys having trouble up there, but we're going to check out this wreck from the top. That was started with Lynn on the bottom side.
And it's a really strange wreck here. It's almost, I don't know if Lynn tried to force themselves up there or just kind of thought they were going to have more room. But wow, that something seemed majorly wrong with Kinchlow from the second. I don't know, got loose off a turn 4 down the straightaway. That was just a very strange sequence of events.
And Christian Challenger made it through all of that, Joe.
I just watched that too from my angle. I'd love an onboard. We just watched poor Salami, who became a punching bag, unfortunately. This is from onboard Christian Challenger, from the helmet cam. This is that oval experience that we keep talking about. He has. Look at this quick, decisive maneuvering, and just breezes by it, almost like it's nothing.
Very close to getting clipped by Bob Beltrami, who is spinning ahead of him. So fortunate things for Christian Challenger. It was touch and go there for a moment as he had those two cars spinning up ahead of him on the high side.
For those wondering what the drivers can do in terms of the spare car, they have one spare car each of the races. So everything reset last round. They've got one more. So if you got damage, you can get back into it, even if you used it last race in the first heat. But don't want to use it too early. We don't have Lionel Little Train Kalisto here to make this joke about, because he's always the one that gets damage early and somehow waits until the very end, winds up with a top 10, top 5 finish.
Yeah, using a quick repair 5 laps into the race, that's definitely not what you want to do. That really puts you in a pickle moving forward, having to come from the rear of the field.
Yeah,
Wayne Hutchison, our dark horse from last round, unfortunately got caught up in that wreck, so he's going to be back there with Bob Beltrami, who both had to get those early pit stops with that spare car.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just thinking about. Devin mentioned being sent to the back of the field with how hard it's been to pass. It's a double whammy of now you are unfortunately put back in the danger zone, and you have to try and make the unenviable task of overtaking a lot of cars. And we're only on lap 7 of a 100-lap heat race 2 of the night here at Lucas Oil Raceway. Just a quick mention as well of our charity one more time. If you want to help see what you can do to either give or get involved, it is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And we have a link in the description, the YouTube description down below, if you want to go and click on that and see how you can help out. And as drivers cycle around, we still got the lights on the pace car, even though a bunch of our front runners are already doubled up. Boy, they are anxious to go here. Challoner with that move is already up to 7th. Pilus, though, finds his way up to 5th by avoiding the wreck.
Yeah, both Challoner and Pilus are stuck on the bottom side for this restart, whereas even though Morton is on the high side up there in the second lane, he unfortunately is going to have to try and anticipate Liam Quinn's start. So Liam already starting to back up the field behind the pace car.
And Kinchlow able to restart here in the 4th position as well after all that chaos.
All right. Well, hopefully we don't get more chaos here on this restart, as that caused a lot of the issues that we saw at the end of the last race. Let's see what Quinn does. He goes a little bit early too. Very different strategies from that first race. Morton slotting into second easily, as Bryan Barns, how about this, racing for the Legends group and fighting for overall victory potentially. There was a stack up behind them, and that involved both Challoner and Pilus getting into one another.
Yeah, Pilus went high to try and get into that top lane, make sure that Christian Challoner couldn't get ahead of him, and Challoner ended up making contact with him because he was trying to carry momentum through the corner, and that ended up stacking up Ryan Steele behind them as well. But this battle for the lead, very, very tight up there between Liam Quinn, Justin Morton, and Bryan Barns.
Barnes, who started where he sits right now in 3rd place, stalking the front guys. And we got a battle for 4th as Lynn Kinchlow is looking to have to go on defense one more time. Pilus down to the inside, gets the spot away, and I think he saw Christian Challoner in there, and Kinchlow almost seemed to give it up.
Kinchlow is definitely struggling on that high side, Devin. I don't know what it is about his set, but it's not happy up there on the high side, just like we were talking about with those different setups.
Well, maybe had that set up to pass in the first race, and knowing that they were going to be on the front row for this race, maybe threw some changes in there, threw the kitchen sink at it, and went the complete wrong direction potentially.
Ooh, and battle for 4th. Challoner manages to overtake Pilus. That could be decisive. Once he got by him last time, he was off like a shot. Never seemed to be fussed for the rest of the race.
Pilus has front clip damage as well, so that might be what's affecting his speed. But those top 3, as we've been watching, very tight together still. Justin Morton unable to do anything with Liam Quinn up front, and Bryan Barns looking on.
Challoner and Pilus are really starting to move in. The only 2 drivers to lead a lap in race number 1 already up into the top 5, and Challoner throws up the fastest lap of the race so far. He is on a move.
Now that he's got clear air, it's obvious that he had something in reserve. We're going to watch on board, see how a master does it. That was a mistake from Morton. He's going to lose his spot to Barnes.
Yeah, he's going to have to regain his composure now. Getting loose like that is very terrifying, and it's a compounding problem. when you get loose like that, the right rear tire heats up, and that can change the compound of the tire just a little bit, and they're starting to reflect that more and more in the iRacing physics system. Christian Challenger sees his prey ahead of him, and he's ready to pounce.
A little bit behind them, that was some side-by-side action you could see between Smith and Kinchlow. That's for 8th position. And down to the inside, Morton going to be overtaken by Challenger, potentially through 3 and 4. Challenger actually onto the apron as we got a caution, and it's Andrew Waring.
Brian McGreevy is spun around in front of the pit lane as well, so the 68 car.
2 separate incidents maybe here? I think it is.
Oh my goodness. What happened to Andrew?
No. McGreevy had to take avoiding action, yeah. Yeah, Waring was the one that started it. And McGreevy ducked down low. I don't think he hit anything, though. I think he just spun himself.
Yeah,
out.
Waring clipped he ends up getting loose off of the corner and clips the back of Wade Hayes. And here's Brian McGreevy just turning it left to try and avoid the incident and manages to keep it out of the wall.
And the salami went off-roading. You saw him go across the grass, and I think he saved it, actually. I didn't quite see on the replay, but pretty sure that car's still going. Yeah, he's still in 21st right now.
And that's a good thing too, because remember, he was one of those cars that took that early stop to get a spare car, so he can't afford to get into another wreck.
David Hall going to take it down into pit lane. And Andrew Waring just took his fast repair. I think, no, maybe he took regular repairs because he was in his stall for a minute here. Not literally a minute, but metaphorically.
Yeah, that would be very unfortunate because the last thing you want to do is have to be a lap down. That completely ends your night, essentially.
Well, we do have the lucky dog in place tonight, so fortunately he will have an opportunity to get the lap back if there is another caution that he's not collected in. So he has to hope and pray that that's the case.
Waring is a lap down, sadly, so we'll have to try and get that back as we now go double file with the lights off once again. For those of you wondering who Rich Vogler is, he is a driver who raced in the Indy 500 5 times, as well as was a sprint and midget racer champion. So very much a short track guy, appropriate here for what we've got tonight. Right now, the pace car ducking in. Liam Quinn has control. He went early last time, right about here before. Is he going to check him up a little longer? Nope, he's going to go pretty early, about halfway through the turn. Oh, and a very good jump behind him from Christian Challenger, getting by Bryan Barns. Back there, trying to give chase. Pilus wants to go through, but he's stuck behind Morton. In fact, he's stuck on the low side because Ryan Steele trying to get up into the top 5 and demote him.
Steele's been very strong on that high side all race, and he's going to continue to try and hang it out there on the high side, forcing Pilus to stay down low, as Justin Morton is actually starting to hold up Ryan Steele just a little bit. Pilus drifting a little high through the corner. This is going to give an opportunity to Eric Smith to look to the high side. Pilus is going to have to try and slide up there in front of him. Can't do it. Eric Smith able to get a little bit of the corner. Pilus trying to drift up high, but he has to turn low because Eric was already there.
And for the lead, we've got 2 Kinetic racers going at it. It is Quinn and Challenger side by side down the backstretch. Challenger sends it in deep, but every time he's tried that, it has not quite been successful. It's been a long and arduous task to overtake the leader for Christian in the previous race. It looks like it is going to be the same deal again, as he can't quite get the shot.
He has to go back up to that high side here. They go again into turn 3 and 4. Bryan Barns with an opportunity. Justin Morton trying to get to the outside of Bryan Barns, and he's going to be able to do so, taking away that exit.
Justin Morton acting like there's a cushion on a Friday night dirt track race or something, moving back into the 3rd position. Challenger now back to the inside, side by side down the back straightaway, has a nose, but not enough to make the pass as they go into 3 and 4.
He's almost fully ahead. but he couldn't complete it on the entry, can't complete it on the exit either. They're going to stay wheel to wheel as they swing it back into 1 and 2. Challoner's not giving it up. If they get a caution, of course, he could inherit the lead. He's almost fully ahead once again. Does he try to slide job it up to the outside? No. He's going to remain polite. And then he's going to take it off the corner. He didn't need to slide job it. Christian Challoner up to the front yet again.
And Ryan Steele trying to take away third position from Justin Morton by doing the exact same thing. Justin Morton holding strong on the high side, but Ryan Steele actually has a better exit than Morton. He's going to dive it way deep. He's almost going to take out Liam Quinn. Justin Morton has to back out of it. Eric Smith up to fourth because of the shuffle.
And in
Justin
fact,
Morton loses another spot as well as these drivers continue to railroad on the bottom.
yeah, that was Bryan Barns who's going to get him right back. Remember, he was the one that got overtaken after a mistake. Or actually, no, overtook him earlier, I should say. Oh, a look to the inside for second as Steele is eager to try and get more points. Almost overtook Quinn. Couldn't make it work. He'll give it another shot here.
This top 10 pressure is intense. Matthew Pilas actually ends up in the outside wall. He's able to keep going straight, but he's way out of it now. Back down to 12th position. Look at this battle as they continue to go side by side for the second position. It's intense stuff.
And they're costing themselves a lot of time to the leader. Challoner already a second ahead as we got a caution.
And this was because of
Swaby.
Yes, Swaby's around. Pilas also spun out trying to get to pit lane, but I think it was Swaby that brought out the caution.
Yeah. He got into the back of Wayne Hutchison, interestingly. Wayne catches the car as he nearly runs up the hill into the wall. Poor David Hall is basically an innocent victim, just coming across the wreck at the wrong time.
Holy guacamole, Joe. That restart was intense. The top 10 battling tooth and nail. That was amazing stuff from all those drivers up there.
I tell you what, the onboard of Hall, Devin, that catch that Wayne made looked very impressive from David's perspective. I didn't realize it was that dramatic.
Oh yeah, it was extremely impressive, not just to keep it straight, but then not have any more issues afterwards. They kind of clogged up behind him there. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know maybe like an Indy car, since these things are open wheel. When you see those things get sideways, it is tough to try to get these cars back straight. We've seen guys drive like Indy cars down the front straightaway when they're loose off of 4 and they almost go down to the inside wall.
I mean, that's immediately what came to mind when you tried to think of what it reminded you of is, Indianapolis. The small little bobbles are just frightening, even though it's not as high speeds with these cars. So this is caution. Are we on caution 3 or 4 here for race 2?
I believe this is caution 3 at this point.
Looks like they're going to give the lucky dog to Andrew Waring, who is not giving it up. In fact, I think that's going to put him back on the lead lap. Pilas is a lap down now, though, sadly.
Yeah, and that's because he spun out trying to get to pit lane. He ended up backing it into the pit lane because he didn't want to bring out the caution by trying to turn it around on track. So props to him for his sportsmanship in taking his lumps and doing that. Unfortunate for him that he's going to end up a lap down.
Well, as we saw from Waring, it's not impossible to get back into things. But what about a front runner trying to climb through the field? Let's check in on the salami. Where is Bob? Oh, he's down. Bob is gone. He was up to 17th at one point, and he's back down to 23rd.
Yeah, our highest climbing driver who has taken a pit stop for damage repair is Wayne Hutchison, up to 20th position. So they're really struggling to make track position there, Devin.
Well, how about Johnny Nichols? He qualified 7th for that first race, caught up in some late race incidents, and he had to start this race in 25th.
What happened to Quinn?
He's in the top 10 already.
Sorry to interrupt. Quinn is backwards on the front stretch.
I think he had a hardware failure.
Yeah, he blinked on me, so we're not going to be able to really get a good replay.
Yeah, and he turned a sharp left as well, so unfortunately I think he's having some sort of hardware issue. But yeah, Christian Challoner doing a great job leading this race, but as you were saying, Devin.
Yeah, Johnny Nichols started 25th after that late race incident last race. He's up to, well, I guess now 8th apparently. Also, Steve Driscoll started 22nd. He is up to 9th as well. So a few drivers who started outside the top 20 now find themselves inside the top 10.
So not even a third of the way through this race. Actually, just past a third of the way, I should say.
It looks
We'll be
like
getting going once again.
It looks like the race stewards are going to give Liam Quinn his position back. That's fortunate for him.
Ooh,
But unfortunately, that means everyone's going to have to stack up very quickly for this restart.
I think they got it under control. Yeah, it looks like they're pretty good here, and Quinn seems to have his issues now under control as well, because he is not blinking on my screen or our director. So good news there, because that is not what we wanted in a race that is close as this. Meanwhile, Christian Challoner, who has been waiting later than most, waits late again to get the green flag and is taken off second for Liam Quinn, with Ryan Steele trying to claim third over Smith. Smith got a little loose off of two.
Yeah, Smith very twitchy off of two, but the battle between Bryan Barnes and Justin Morton is trapped down that low side. We know Justin does not like to be down there. We saw him drop back during the last race when this happened to him. He's got to find a way up to that high side, and now he's got a gap there ahead of Nick Kuhn. But Nick trying to close it in. I think Justin's going to be able to beat him off the corner, though. No! Justin cannot get the power down, and oh, that was Johnny Nichols into the wall behind him. So Johnny's able to keep going, but how much damage has that done to his car?
And that's Nick Kuhn around the outside in the number 19. Whoa, bunch of drivers sliding coming off at 3. Tires still getting up to temperature. Oh man, things up at the top are tight. In fact, Ryan Steele being challenged or challenging on Liam Quinn around the outside as they go side by side. Behind them, another bobble from Eric Smith. It seems the tires are struggling at this point. He's finally going to get it under control, but so will Ryan Steele, who solidifies P2.
And this is the start of lap 40. These drivers are having issues with the tires already. Believe me, it's not going to get any better by any sense of the imagination here. Still have 61 laps to go on these tires. Maybe time to start conserving a little bit.
And Justin Morton dropping from 4th all the way down to 10th on that restart, just getting trapped on that low side, unfortunately. So, and we're seeing a lot of these drivers really having trouble, like you said, getting that car to turn in the entrance of the corner. But here we go, another side-by-side battle between Bryan Barnes and Eric Smith.
They actually made contact through 3 and 4, just the lightest of touches. But Smith is going to prevail. He gets ahead of Barnes. Barnes is susceptible to Warling behind him, who spies an opportunity. Travis down low is finding that one not providing enough grip. So he gets up, back up high before Nick Kuhn can manage to overtake.
Oh, and Bruce Jones actually ends up hitting the outside wall. He's able to keep going once again, so quite a few drivers have done that tonight. I thought that was going to be a wreck because of how slow he was going, but we're still going green.
Johnny Nichols was trying to get around Nick Kuhn here inside the top 10. Had to lay off, though, and a lot of these drivers in the top 10 still tail-tanked a front fender here, so these drivers not separating out at all here on this green flag run.
When you mentioned the tank there in the rear, do these cars start to feel pretty different as the weight of the fuel goes off?
Absolutely, because these cars have so much fuel in them when you start this race to go the full 100 laps. And iRacing, I mean, at least I think they've done a good job doing that. Either that or I don't protect the right rear tire very well. But yeah, it can definitely cause havoc, making the rear end lighter as the race goes along.
Look down to the inside. That's Travis Warling still working on Bryan Barnes, and Barnes will rebuff him. In fact, Warling's starting to look pretty loose as we now ride on board. That checks up everybody behind him. It's a chain reaction, and Nichols attempting something on Kuhn.
Try and get it done, but unfortunately, it's just so hard to get that pass done around here. Wow, Travis Warling deep into the corner on the low side. He's going to try and take notes from Christian Challoner and try and get those deep moves done and get the power out of the corner, but he can't quite do it. Nick Kuhn or Bryan Barnes rather holding strong on that high side, just staying very consistent. And if Travis isn't careful, he's going to be susceptible to Nick Kuhn and Johnny Nichols on that high side, and here comes Nick Kuhn to try and put Travis Warling down some spots.
He's going to be able to block him off. And Warling has no place to go. Oh, this is really bad news because there's 3 more cars behind him with no gap in sight. He might be just up a certain creek without a paddle right now as he finds himself stuck on the undesired line. Travis Warling, who has been very quick in that UDOX machine, is stuck in a fight just to try and keep from losing 3 positions, 4 positions, let alone almost runs into the side of Nick Kuhn as he sent it in deep.
Well, that was as close as you could get right there. That was, oh my goodness, no! Nick Kuhn into the outside wall, unfortunately. Took it too deep into the corner. That's going to send him back.
Kuhn does indeed. He's the one that loses the 4 places. Justin Morton, maybe not all 4. He's going to slot in behind him. So Nick Kuhn down to P9. Seems like he only brushed it enough to scare him, not enough to ruin the handling. Halfway through this race now, and the dominant force, not just for this season, but for this race in particular, has been this man, Christian Challenger, the only black stripe we have in this race. He's been P1 for the majority of both heats. Bit of a fight for third. Liam Quinn has Eric Smith right on top of him. Oh, but Smith once again finding the throttle a little bit touchy off the turns.
Yeah, this is really becoming a struggle for him there because he seems to have a car that doesn't seem to go very well into the deeper parts of the run. And all these drivers now, I feel like we're hitting that transition point, Devin, where they're trying to figure out, once again, how to drive these cars on the worn right front tire and these light fuel settings.
And that's when it comes down to adaptability. That's where short track drivers make their name, being able to adapt and being able to change their driving style to fit how that right front feels, because these drivers just push up in the center of the corners. And that's where we saw a lot of passing last races, where some drivers could turn down under another guy coming out of a corner, and that's where some positions were changing hands.
Adaptability, that's the name of the game in the majors. Who is able to roll with the punches as we continue to watch this battle, which is essentially for 4th place now. Smith leading Bryan Barnes, Warling, Nichols, Driscoll getting feisty in this fight too.
That was some contact right there between Eric Smith and Bryan Barnes. Smith getting into Barnes there. Smith's not going to be happy about that. He's not going to give any quarter to Barnes at this point. Travis Warling trying to hang out there on the high side, force Barnes to go backwards here, with Johnny Nichols trying to make some progress as well.
Almost like a chess match out there. It's just positioning your car, forcing the other driver to do what you want them to do, and give yourself the desired positioning. Right now, the unfortunate one. Oh, and into the wall goes Barnes and Driscoll, shoved into the side of Steve. Oh, and Steve's going down. He's lost control. I don't think we'll get a caution. He's in the grass. He's going to pull back. Oh, there's the caution. As soon as he pulled onto the pavement. Well,
Yeah, he
didn't
has
want
some
to get
serious suspension issues with that.
Now, I don't know if Barnes lost a little control or if he just didn't know he wasn't clear high or what happened here.
It looked like to me when they come off of this next, or actually, yeah, right here, just he seemed not necessarily loose, but he pushed on corner exit, and that just kind of made him unstable going down the straightaway, and that caused the contact. Really unfortunate for Driscoll. Started 22nd, was running in the top 10, had a chance for a top 5 after starting outside the top 20.
Yeah, and he was definitely. I don't think he realized that he was still had a car on his right side, so he was just trying to angle it up a little bit to try and get a better run into the next corner, and ends up collecting Steve.
The regulars of the Silver Crown tend to jokingly refer to them as the vacuum cleaner, but it seems Driscoll's turned his into more of a harmonica right now.
I was going to say UFO, Joe.
That works too. I'll accept that one. Justin Morton down pit lane. Now, why is he didn't get any damage, did he?
I mean, it's entirely possible that he's hit the outside wall a couple times. We did see him slow on the course, but this looks like a regular stop. So maybe he's getting fresh tires?
That could be. He has no front end damage on this car. He got 2 new front tires. I mean, and you can't do this in regular USAC Silver Crown rules. There is no tire changes. So maybe there's still not a ton of laps to go. You got 40 laps to go. Well, probably about 38 to go once we go green again. maybe he thinks with a few drivers down on their luck, he'll restart probably around 23rd. He figured he's already almost outside the top 10, so
He's
maybe
coming
now's a
back
good
in
time.
again.
Nope. Yeah, he's going to come back. Yeah, so who knows? Maybe he has a little bit of right side damage that messed with that suspension, and he's just trying to get that repaired without using a fast repair.
This has all the signs to me that he's getting damage repaired now for him coming in multiple times, because I just didn't think that giving up track position really merited fresh tires. Honestly, didn't think it merited coming in to get damage repaired, because he was doing decent. I feel like if it was me, I would have just tried to gut it out, because now trying to pass this many cars in this little time
See, I'm
seems.
not sure about damage repair though anymore, because he got 2 new front tires, left, came back in, got 2 new rear tires, and left again. He did not spend very much time on pit road at all.
He just split them up to ensure he doesn't go a lap down. Thought that maybe
Yeah, but he's got a lot of room. Both times he came out, he had a lot of room to the leaders.
Yeah, this is strange. I mean, I don't know how he's gonna handle tackling this restart and try and make his way up the field. Starting out, and he's gonna restart in 22nd. This is gonna be tight for him.
This is honestly one of the things I kind of like about the majors, is because you put drivers out here that might not necessarily be regulars in certain cars, that you get unique strategies, you get unique calls that, well, they don't necessarily know what is traditional wisdom, so might as well try something weird. Meanwhile, Christian Challenger is keeping things very normal for him, which is the lead in this series as he takes the green flag. Behind them, battle for third, almost 3 wide there for a moment amongst Smith, Quinn, Nichols, and Warling.
Yeah, Nick Kuhn got a really bad start as well, so he's down to 8th position. But that battle side by side now for the 5th position between Travis Warling and Bryan Barns. Very tight stuff. Travis Warling and Liam Quinn, rather. Quinn falling back from where he was leading the race before. Down that low side, just cannot get the power down off the corners now.
And now Nickel into 4th. He is up 21 spots, started 25th, and now he is battling for 3rd right up on the tail tank of Eric Smith.
A little bit of a bump on the back of Smith and keeps it going. There was a bobble there from Nichols off the corner. I almost wonder if Quinn's car's not good on the short run, because it seemed like he's struggling here in these first few laps. As Travis Warling's now going to have a little bit of a poke on Nichols. Warling looking for P4, and I don't think he's got it. Oh, hold on to the car.
Yeah, he almost got into Nichols twice through that corner. That was very, very close stuff between the two of them. That could have been a gigantic wreck in front of the field, but Nichols is going to hold on to that 4th position. Travis Warling back down to 5th, and they're very tight, tucked in behind him all the way down to 10th.
That's from the number 41. Hold on to a top 5. Here comes Quinn. The car's starting to come back to him now, and he's aggressively on the back of the number 90.
And that was Quinn trying to go low there, possibly on the back of the 90 of Travis Warling. Just couldn't get it done. Now he's backed up a little bit into Bryan Barns. Bryan Barns possibly looking for... Oh, Travis Warling a little bit loose off the corner. That's going to shuffle up everyone behind them.
Things are just a handful. And this time it was Quinn who started to lose it on corner exit as he had to check up for Warling coming out of 2. Doesn't lose a spot, but behind him, giving watch, that's Bryan Barns in the number 4. The Popsicle Man, as we like to call him, for his livery that he had for many a year here on the Majors Series. He continues to hound Liam Quinn. Not able to make any moves quite yet, but certainly sizing him up.
Bryan Barnes definitely thinking about making some moves here. Another driver trying to make moves is once again Johnny Nichols trying to get going there, but Eric Smith doing a good job of holding him off. And then we have Travis Warling, who's now stuck in the middle of all of these battles trying to make some progress. We're going on board with Bryan Barnes as he's chasing around Liam Quinn, but you can see Bryan's front right tire just not giving him the purchase that it was at the beginning of this race. He's really struggling with corner entry at this point.
And just 30 laps to go, these drivers continue to battle that. And even though a little bit higher on the track, Barnes is not able to really get enough momentum coming off of the corner. You can see really pushes there in the center of the corner, and you can just see the cars in front of him just drive away.
Update on Justin Morton. He's up 5 positions up to the 17th spot. I'm still not sure whether or not that pit stop is going to pay off, but he is making his way through the field fairly quickly.
A lot quicker than we saw with Beltrami, which is kind of shocking, if I'm honest. Beltrami still sits in 20th. Despite a good race last time, this one is not producing much of the same fruit. We got a battle for third, and that's between Nichols and Smith. Nichols to the inside, almost washes up, a little bit of contact, and they're going to come together. And blinking out, that was Smith hitting the incident limit.
That's our first one tonight. Unfortunately, Johnny Nichols with major damage. He's going to have to take to the pits. And fortunately, he still has a spare car. But this is going to take us to 3/4 of the race distance at this point.
That was honestly quite lucky that Smith disappeared, because you could see how many cars were coming up behind them. With only Nichols to avoid, it was a lot easier for that group to dodge around him. Nichols is now in pit lane, trying to find his stall, I think, maybe. And he's taking his spare car. There we go. So he is going to be able to continue on, albeit at the back of the field.
And I believe he'll be able to get out ahead of the pace car. Yes, he will. So fortunately, he'll be able to retain his lead lap position.
And just so unfortunate, starting in 25th and working his way all the way up to 5th place. Battling for that top 5, and man, for both of them, that's really a heartbreaker. It almost, I don't want to say it's net code, it's just when you have on iRacing these open wheel cars, bang wheels, it makes both cars squirrely right there. I don't know, maybe in real life they might have been okay to an extent there, but that was just a rapid decline in both of those cars, ending up just getting really sideways for the minimal amount of impact that they had on each other.
Eric Smith is back in the session, so I don't believe that he got the incident limit. He might have just gotten forced out of the track.
Yeah.
So he's back in the pit lane, probably getting a tow at this point, over a minute and a half. So he's going to go down multiple laps now, 3 laps down and counting, unfortunately, for Eric Smith.
Well, meanwhile, for Justin Morton, that incident moves him up to 14th now. So he was already moving outside the top 10, and he's now well on his way to getting back inside that top 10. We'll probably go green here with just a little bit more than 20 to go.
I stand corrected. I guess the pit stop worked out for him.
Well, I kept saying that Justin has all this short track experience, so credit to him really making good on what to us seemed like a very risky call. And I guess maybe he felt confident enough doing it himself that he could work his way back through. Are we going to get lights out this time? Not quite. Lights are going to stay on the pace car. So another 2 laps at least before we get going, but we're under 25 laps at this point. So it is go time.
And how about the recovery for Kinchlow? We saw so many issues after starting on the pole, still sitting in the 7th position now. So figured maybe something wrong with the setup or on that car with just how loose it was, but now back on up to 7th, still fighting in that top 10.
Kinch has done a good job mitigating the damage. I almost wonder if this is kind of the car settling into where his pace merits, because remember, he climbed all his way up to 10th. This is close to that. Maybe this is just kind of where that setup can put him.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. It's also possible that Lynn's car behaves better when it's in traffic and fighting with other cars, so it might still be that whole setup thing that Devin was talking about as we get ready to go green again.
Doubled up. Lights are out on the pace car. We're going to restart with 12 laps to go. Or, excuse me, 22 laps to go. This is why you don't ask me to do math on air. So as they come around 3 and 4, Challoner has control. Steele's going to try and keep with him. Oh, look at him go a little bit early. He tried to game it, and it bit him. There goes Christian. He's going to have a car to the inside. Travis Warling thinking he could get up to P2, but it's not quite there. He settles back for 3rd. Liam Quinn in 4th. 5th place single file with Bryan Barns.
Another scary moment for Nick Kuhn on the restart. He's now falling back into the clutches of Wade Hayes, who's trying to get on off the corner. Well, can't do so, unfortunately. So Wade's going to have to settle for that 8th position. Wayne Hutchison up to 9th now. Steve Driscoll 10th, and Jeff Schmeier 11th.
Driscoll coming back into the field. And how about Hayes? Started this race in 23rd, now up to 8th. Still trying to fight his way up the field. Still has time to do it.
Time, but it's quickly dwindling away. as we watch some of our top runners see what they can get and what could be the last green flag run. No, I spoke too soon. We got a caution, and that is Jason Wallet and Johnny Nichols.
This actually this starts with Jason Wallet and Johnny Nichols. Johnny gets into the back of Wallet, and then the two of them were probably going to be okay, but they unfortunately got collected by Eric Smith as well.
And those are pretty much all three drivers that have had a pretty terrible day, at least for Nichols in this second race. Him going backwards certainly seemed to have put him on the back foot and made him susceptible. Now it has bit him. So our order up at the top, because we haven't given this in a while, Challoner leads, Steele second, Warling into third, Quinn still hovering in fourth, and how about Bryan Barns? Old age and treachery still proves useful for the number 4 car, riding in 5th position.
Yeah, Lynn Kinchlow doing a good job hanging on to 6th. The problems that he saw, he actually has made that pass on Nick Kuhn on that restart. Nick Kuhn just not having a good time at restarts, as far up as 4th position in this race, has now fallen back to 7th. Then we have Wade Hayes in 8th position. Wayne Hutchison, a good job in 9th spot. And Steve Driscoll falling back just a little bit down to 10th position from where he was running before, but still up 12 positions from where he started this race.
Meanwhile, Jeff Schmeier in 11th. He's just kind of been hanging around, right around 10th, started 12th, and now still just hanging around in 11th. He's been consistently up there towards the top half of the mid-pack, and Justin Morton gained 2 more spots. Now he's in 12th and once again restarting on the outside lane.
So far, all the signs have pointed towards this being Christian Challoner's second race to lose, and once again taking maximum points for the full 500 points this event if he finishes where he is, and that will extend his points lead by some margin over Travis Warling, who is, to his credit, mitigating the damage here in this race. He still sits in 3rd. He could slip up into 2nd depending on the start that Steele gets. And we've seen so far, Devin, that it's been very tricky if you are in that 2nd position.
Yeah, I mean, it has just been flawless restarts by Challoner. What he does here when he goes into turn 4, he just kind of lifts a little bit. It's not really playing games. It's just being a pro at restarts. He loses about 5 miles an hour, and right when he hits that magic number 4 or 5, he just slams on the throttle where he knows the rear tires won't get squirrely on corner exit, and he blows away the rest of the field because everyone else in those first 2 or 3 rows check up to wait for him. Now, you don't wait for him. You gotta stick with him and go with him. Every single restart has just been phenomenal textbook restarts.
This is almost a bit of refuge for Christian Challoner, as his season up in the Coke Series, unfortunately, has been, well, he's had a lot of bad luck, I think we'll say, and has been a little bit frustrated, certainly has expressed it quite a bit, and has made no secret out of that. He's had a few good finishes here and there, but the majors certainly allows him to shine in a way that the Cup Cars has denied him this season. Let's hope that that will turn around for him and he can take some of the beautiful performances he's shown here over to NASCAR. As our pace car peels in, Challoner, let's watch and see if he does what Devin was talking about. Holds the back, just holding the pace. Oh, very early, switched it up. Pulled a fast one on them. Down below, Travis Warling is going to use it to his advantage, and I think he's going to get into 2nd.
We have 3 wide into turns 1 and 2. Further back, that was Wade. Steve Driscoll going to the bottom. We have an unorthodox car into the outside wall. That's going to be another wreck.
Wreck as Lynn Kinchlow goes a tumbling, and a bunch of cars pile in.
Morton, Beltrami, Jones, Trocine, Halleck.
Hayes involved, Rob Gall involved, McGreevy.
This is Daytona. I'd say it's the big one.
It really is. It's the small track version of the big one for sure. Trying to see if anybody made a good escape.
And this all started from a little bit of a bobble up at the front of the pack from, I believe that was Steve Driscoll, who ended up getting off of turns 1 and 2 very squirrely. Everyone started to check up from then on, and we were still too wide at that point, so people were trying to take advantage, and we just ended up having a concertina effect off of the corner.
Two drivers that did a great job avoiding Aaron Roofs and then Kevin Hill, both dodged low on the backstretch, made a miraculous escape to get by there. And that's going to actually gift them up to 10th because of the cars that wrecked around them. And they do not have a green-white checkers here tonight, we should mention. So if they do have a caution late in the race, I think with 5 laps to go or less, we will not get a restart for tonight. That will be the end of the race. So definitely impetus to try and stay up in the front or get ahead of someone, even if just by a nose, towards the end once you get to those last few laps.
I mean, the end is coming up very quickly. We're going to 11. We're on 11 to go at this time around, so it's going to be a very, very quick green flag run to the end if we are able to get that far, Devin.
Well, that scares me if I'm everyone else in the field, because if we haven't already seen some drivers saying it's go time, now we're going to see about all of the field trying to push the issue. I think some of these cautions that we've seen late here in the race have been some guys just getting on the accelerator a little too early on corner exit. It's just a small mistake like that caused the big one. Something so innocent, something so minor, just piled up the rest of the field. And it's just a little bit of aggressiveness on corner exit going, I want to get off a little bit better, and you lose the rear of the car. It's just that simple to cause a wreck like we just saw.
Still got another lap or 2 to go here. We're down to 10 to go. So we're going to restart, I believe, with 8 laps to go here. It is going to be a mad dash to the finish for sure. And we are down with way fewer cars this time than what we saw in the first race. Eric Smith is the last car running in 24th, whereas last time I think we only had 1 or 2 DNFs by the end.
That being said, Joe, about half of the field has come to pit lane for either tires or a spare car. So a lot of drivers having to deal with some trouble tonight. A lot of drivers dealing with damage as well.
To those, Steve Driscoll up to 7th from 22nd. Nice job for the driver, 3rd in the points. He really needs a good finish here. So does Travis Warling, trying to minimize the damage and keep Christian Challoner in check, knowing if Challoner has a bad race, then he is in trouble without, I believe, without any drop points left in his pocket in either discipline. So he went early last time. What about this time? Challoner waiting. He waits a little bit longer. Oh, and this catches out Warling. This catches him out big time, and Steele is able to sneak through, but here comes Warling back on the high side. Muscles his way up side by side, doesn't quite get past him, and the battle is on for second.
Warling is not going to let his championship competitor, Christian Challoner, disappear into the distance. He's going to try and battle Ryan Steele as much as he can. Ryan Steele cannot get clear. It's still going to be side by side as they go to 1 and 2 for the second time. Steele diving it deep into the corner. Is it too deep? No, he's able to get the speed off. Travis Warling down to 3rd.
Bad news for the 90 car. As they now come to 6 laps to go, 3 wide behind them. And Liam Quinn is the one that might come out on top. He's got Steve Driscoll down below. Driscoll might actually make this stick, though, as he's holding to that inside line, but wobbles on his way out.
Bryan Barns looking to take advantage, way up on the outside, almost making it 3 wide with the 2 cars in front of him, still duking it out.
You talked about go time. That really is go time. Twice. And laps 3 wide, and they managed to make it out the other side.
That was sideways moments from Liam Quinn there as he got contact from behind by Bryan Barns.
Place drivers, and a caution comes out. This might have ended it. Ryan Steele doesn't go around, but Travis Warling does. Oh my goodness. The last thing that Travis Warling wanted in this. Let's look at the replay. Steele does a good job catching it. Now, where is it going to slot him? Actually, it's going to count him as second place. Interesting.
Travis Worling in the last race finished 11th place. This is the last thing he needed. Very unfortunate for him. He's now going to be in 18th position.
Don't think we're going to get a restart here. I think that was it. Because we're 3 to go. Lights are on. They have to go off next time by, or else we are done.
And we still have Lynn Kinchlow, who's laps down, so I don't believe that we're gonna get the lights to go off next time by. Lynn is going around though. He got the lucky dog call, so he might get lucky.
Now I know they've implemented some shorter cautions in some cases on iRacing. I'm not sure. I don't think it is implemented here though. Again, there's no green-white checkers. Lights are on. This race is over. Christian Challoner will be your winner. Steele will be second. How about Driscoll up to third? My goodness, wasn't he in 7th on that restart?
Yeah, well, everyone else was loose off of the corners. I mean, Driscoll started off in 22nd position and is up to third spot here. Talk about a rebound from the last 100 lap race we did just a couple of minutes ago. Very impressive stuff from Steve.
Fantastic recovery for the number 51 to net him some decent points today. Same thing with Liam Quinn, finishes 4th behind him, who is currently 5th in the points. So white flag waves as they will trundle around at 50 miles an hour here at Lucas Oil Raceway. Round 11 here for the majors. The Rich Vogler Classic is unfortunately going to end its second race under caution, but it gave us some fantastic action in both heats, and they are going to be swept by Christian Challoner, this man on screen, the number 11, who is going to take, I guess this will count as win number 9, technically, since he had win number 8 last heat. Challoner down into the line, sees the checkered flag, and takes victory for the second time here at Indianapolis. This is probably going to be a very proud one with how difficult these cars are, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll hopefully get to talk to Christian here soon, as we're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around here during the fireworks, because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Lucas Oil Raceway here at Indianapolis. There is your victor for both races. He swept Heat 1 and Heat 2. Christian Challoner with the win and didn't start on pole for either of the Rich Vogler Classic. Ryan Steele, a bit of a surprise second place for him, though he had the pace. That part wasn't surprising. It was just the wreck at the end. He narrowly avoided losing more places as the timing and scoring decided he did not lose the spots, even though temporarily cars got ahead of him as he collected himself. Steve Driscoll, 22nd to third in this second race. Fantastic stuff from him. Liam Quinn, unfortunately, went a little bit backwards, but still a fourth place was a good run for him after starting on the front row in the second heat. Bryan Barns earns his money with fifth place, and Nick Kuhn going from 15th to 6th. Kind of a quiet run for him. How about Wayne Hutchison finishing 7th after finishing in 6th in the previous race? You got Kevin Hill finishing in P8, climbing up from 26. Another one we didn't get to pay attention to that deserved some love. 9th for Jeff Schmeier, and Aaron Roofs rounds out the top 10.
David Hall's going to come home in 11th today, with Wade Hayes falling back to the 12th position after climbing up quite a bit further than that during the race. We have Adam Halleck, who comes home in 13th. And they have Justin Morton, who got caught up in that late race wreck, the big one, ends up in 14th position after taking a pit stop for tires and climbing all the way up to 10th spot before getting involved in that wreck. And Rob Gall coming home in 15th, with Jason Wallach coming home in the 16th spot after being involved in that in an earlier wreck also. Brett Trocine is going to come home in 17th position, with Travis Warling unfortunately finishing in 18th after a wreck that brought out the final caution, dropping him down to that position. Lynn Kinchlow started on pole, ended up in 19th spot, and Brian McGreevy rounds out your top 20.
And 21st, we've got Johnny Nichols here today. Bob Beltrami, 22nd. Unfortunately, we're getting into drivers that had really bad races today. He did still finish, I believe. Bruce Jones, 23rd, and Eric Smith, 24th. From there, it was DNFs, Swaby, Pilas, Warren, and Fletcher. Now, we've got our winner here with us of both races, Christian Challoner. Christian, you know, we made mention that it's not been the greatest of years for you in the Coke series, but it seems like it's been very much the opposite here in the majors. Is this something of a happy place for you coming in and be able to take so many wins this year?
Well, thanks for picking up on the Coke series not being so great. But you're definitely right, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's been really bruising in that series. There's been so many times where I've felt like I've had really good cars and I've had really good opportunities, and it's just not come off. And it's been one of those years in there where it's when a race has gone badly, it's never just it's never just been like, oh, I finished kind of like in the 20th sort of area kind of position. It's been like, oh, the car's upside down and that's it, we're finishing P40 type thing. Kind of like Spa in the last majors race, where one thing happens and the car's all of a sudden blown up. So yeah, that's not been a lot of fun, but the majors has been really fun, and I was really keen to kind of keep that whole deal going in terms of especially the road course wins, because I realized actually before Spa, and this is probably what jinxed it, I realized before Spa that I hadn't actually lost a road course race so far this year. So I was really keen to keep that going, and obviously that didn't work out, but it was cool to come back to the Silver Crown. I really enjoyed that the last time we raced it back in 2018, I think, Phoenix, and it was so much fun then. So I was really, really, really happy to see the Silver Crown back, and yeah, it's definitely fun to come into the series, and yeah, it's always a good time.
Sorry if I brought up a bit of a sore spot, but you didn't start on pole in either of the races on this one. And we came in saying how difficult it is to pass, but it didn't seem like you let that phase you. Were you at all concerned coming in thinking, in neither case are you starting on in the desired position?
Yeah, I really, really was concerned about that actually, and spent the majority of the hours worth of practice before the race. I was solely going after qualifying speed and just trying to make sure I actually hit the lap right. And then when it came to the qualifying session, I really didn't get the lap in that I wanted, and I started second. And like you say, I was worried about passing. I really, really thought the passing was going to be very, very difficult, and it kind of reinforced that a little bit when I was behind Matt at the start of that first race, and we had a really good fight. It took a really, really long time to get by him, but that was a lot of fun. But it did have me really, really worried for that second race, especially starting back there in 10th. I got a little bit lucky. There was that incident that cycled me up to 7th, and then I was probably a bit more aggressive than I usually am, and it really paid off this time. It got me up past Matt, past Ryan, and that was big, because I knew that Ryan was going to be fast. So to be ahead of him and ahead of Matt pretty early in the race, it was a big deal to get that done, and that definitely helped. And obviously, as soon as you get into the lead and you get the restarts, it's so hard to pass the guy that's the leader, because they've just got such an advantage on the restarts normally, and especially the Silver Crown. Pretty sure everybody who races the Silver Crown knows that there's this deal where you push the clutch in and you really rev it up and you just dump the clutch, and it gives you this massive hole shot, and that's pretty much what I was doing on every restart, and it just made it so difficult for anybody to get back to me. And I knew that was really the goal, get to the lead as fast as possible and just keep doing that on restarts and just keep opening that half-second gap or so, and it was going to be really, really tough for them to get around me.
More quick question. Normally, I would say, I'd ask, are you a little worried about running the Lotus 49 next round with it heading to Watkins Glen? But you've been doing some moonlighting in that car. So is that actually kind of, are your eyes lighting up a little bit? Are you excited to head over to that car?
Oh yeah, absolutely excited to head over to that car. Obviously, got a little bit of an ace in my pocket there. Rafael Dorado is always hanging out in my Discord, and we do a couple of sessions with that car every month. So it's something that I have more recent experience in than quite a lot of the cars that we run in, and actually already ran some laps there with him on Saturday at Watkins Glen. So definitely that's what I'm looking forward to. That's a lot of fun. That's that's like the Silver Crown of road course stuff, really. It's really, really difficult to drive, really difficult to just keep a hang of, and you've got to be so smooth and so focused the entire race. And I think that'll be a really fun race to do, a fun race to watch as well. So yeah, for sure, that's one I've been looking forward to the whole season. And really, this last couple of races is they're all ones that I'm really big fan of. So obviously we have the Silver Crown, then we're gonna have the Lotus 49. We've got the V8 Supercar at Bathurst, and it's just a really good run to the end of the season, especially for me.
Difficult run, I have to admit. And my favorite car as well. Again, congratulations on 2 wins back to back, Christian. Go celebrate.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Was Christian Challoner, as Adam has caught up with Ryan Steele, who came home in second, but almost didn't there at the end.
Yeah, Ryan, looking at the replay, it looks like you were able to get second place when the caution came out just by half a car length. But talk me through that race. It seemed like you were actually gaining on Christian Challoner at points.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I mean, as Christian mentioned, it is super hard to pass anyone who gets in the lead in this thing. So the only thing I thought I could do to beat him was to try to guess when he was going to go on restarts. And he tricked me every time. Even lost a position on one of the restarts because of that. So I just didn't quite have the pace to go faster. Like I was about the same speed, but I couldn't go faster. But yeah, I mean, with this being my specialty car, this is the car I race all the time. Sure, I'm happy with second, but I'm also disappointed. I know it's Christian Challoner, but I wanted that win.
Absolutely, but talk me through that final restart with you and Travis Warling battling side by side, coming out off of the corners, and then the eventual contact. Talk me through that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, just going from the restart, I knew I had to get a good restart to get back in front of him, and so I was super aggressive on that restart. I probably shoved him up out of the way. I didn't watch the replay to see if he had to get out of my way or anything, but I know I kind of bullied my way up there. And with the way he was driving into the turns, he was driving in harder than I was. And so I was kind of anticipating that might happen. So I was kind of prepared for I might get turned. So that's why I was able to recover it so well. I mean, again, I've had experience, so that helped, But I don't hold anything against him. Like he talked to me after the race. It's not a big deal. It's racing. It's the end of the race. You got to go for it if you can,
Absolutely. And this week, this session was a ringer for you as far as the car selection is concerned. But how do you feel in a Lotus 49 going around Watkins Glen?
That's a big question. The last time, I've always heard that the 49 gets compared to a Silver Crown, like it kind of drives like a road going Silver Crown would do. And when we raced that at Milwaukee last year, I ran pretty well in it. I got wrecked out of the race, but it was still a good race for me. So when we go to road course, am I still going to be able to handle that as well? I don't know. I guess I'll see when we get there.
Well, Ryan, we don't get to see you up here very often, so is there anyone you want to thank for your second place finish today?
I got to thank Wayne Hutchison because he builds the setups that I make that I run with this car. I wouldn't be able to run up here without him. It's that's all it comes down to it because I'm clueless when it comes to setups. So when he wasn't making setups, I was running the back of the field. So it's all to him, really.
Well, thanks for talking to us, Ryan, and we look forward to seeing you in the future rounds here at the closing portion of the major season.
Yeah, thank you. Hope to see you again.
That was Ryan Steele, who came home in second today. Back to you, Joe.
To close out our interviews for the 11th round of the majors, it's the Rich Vogler Classic. And thanks for joining us. Big thank you to the majors, of course, for bringing us back for another season of coverage and for their charity that they're raising funds for. Again, if you want to check them out, that is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. The link in the description below. Thanks go out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Adam, Devin, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, where our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Gram. If you'd like to support us, we got a merchandise store as well, also linked down in the description, so check that out. And as we mentioned, the next race is just in a couple weeks' time at Watkins Glen with the Lotus 49. I am so excited for that. I've been asking for this for a while. That'll be Sunday, September 27th at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out and mark them down on your calendar. If you want to stick around and you're in the U.S. and you're a night owl, we've got the BMW e-racer, the BMW Racers Drivers e-racer series. I've completely botched this and I should have written this down a little bit better. But regardless, we have a BMW series based in New Zealand coming up in just a few hours' time. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.